The story begins with a boy waking up in an unfamiliar room. As he slowly opens his eyes, he sees a woman looking down at him. At first, he assumes she is his mother, but he quickly realizes that can't be right because his mother is much older than this woman. Feeling confused, he looks down at his hands and is completely shocked to discover that he is now a baby. What makes the situation even stranger is that when he checks his status, all of his stats have returned to level 1, and he doesn't even have a name anymore. Suddenly, a tall man wearing armor enters the room. The woman respectfully refers to him as the king, and he steps closer to look at the baby. Seeing this man, the boy wonders if he is some kind of emperor or ruler of this land. Not long after, the baby is carried before a priest for a naming ceremony. During the ceremony, he is given the name Noah and is declared to be the 13th Imperial Prince. When Noah quickly checks his status, he sees that Imperial Prince has been added to his title, which confirms that he is the direct son of the emperor of this nation. After the naming ceremony is complete, the emperor asks the priest what Noah's affinity is. The priest replies that Noah's affinity is water, and that his assigned fief will be Almeria, a land where many members of the water clan reside. Hearing this, the emperor seems somewhat relieved. Setting that aside, he then asks the priest to reveal Noah's full stats. When the priest does so, everyone in the room is stunned. Every single one of Noah's stats is already maxed out, and his water affinity has reached SS rank, even though he was only born a few hours ago. Having stats like that means he has already awakened, and an awakening at such a young age is something unheard of. Because of this, everyone present concludes that they are witnessing the birth of an extraordinary talent. It is at this moment that Noah realizes he has been granted a new life and reincarnated as a noble. The empire he now lives in is known as the Mir's Empire, a powerful nation of warriors nestled within a rugged mountain range. Its capital is located on an open plain, and the empire is currently enjoying a golden age where wealth continues to generate even more wealth, allowing a rich and vibrant culture to flourish. The emperor of this land is the father of more than 10 sons, all of whom are known as the imperial princes. These princes are widely adored by the people and are regarded as the most prestigious nobles in the empire. 6 years after Noah's reincarnation, he comes to realize something important about his abilities. To others, his stats appear as incredibly high individual values, but in reality, those numbers are high only because they are being boosted by his subordinates. For example, his S-rank water skill comes entirely from Almeria, the fief he was granted at birth, while many of his other stat bonuses come from the maids who serve him. In other words, Noah grows stronger the more subordinates he has. On top of that, he begins to suspect that his level has no upper limit and can continue increasing endlessly. Once the maids finish dressing him, they send him downstairs. After he leaves, the maids talk among themselves and admit how remarkable he is. Normally, boys his age would be full of mischief and constantly causing trouble, but Noah is different. He is calm, composed, and unusually mature for his age. Evelyn, the beautiful maid who specializes in hospitality, approaches Noah while he is having lunch and announces that both the crown prince and the fourth prince have come to visit him. She adds that they said he could take his time finishing his meal before going to meet them. However, Noah knows exactly who the crown prince is and understands that he cannot afford to keep someone of that status waiting. He immediately asks the maids to take him to them. Noah goes to greet his elder brothers, Albert, who is the crown prince, and Henry, who is the fourth prince. After exchanging polite greetings, Albert tells Noah that they actually came to bring him a gift. At that moment, a frightened servant walks into the room carrying a sword case. A dark and ominous aura slowly leaks out from it, filling the air with tension. After it is set down, Albert orders the servant to open the case. The moment it opens, Noah suddenly feels a chill run down his spine as he begins to hear the cries of soldiers begging Albert to save their lives. The voices sound desperate and full of fear, and Noah can immediately tell that what he just heard was not a hallucination. Albert then tells Noah to pick up the sword. Although Noah really doesn't want to, he realizes that this is a gift from the crown prince, so refusing it isn't an option. Noah carefully picks up the sword, and while it feels a bit heavy at first, he soon manages to steady himself and find his balance. After that is done, Albert explains that the sword is known as Leviathan, a water element sword that is regarded as the strongest sword in the entire empire. Around 120 people have died simply trying to master it. Henry notices Noah looking a bit nervous after hearing that, so he tells him not to worry. He explains that anyone who is not meant to wield the sword is killed by its curse the moment they attempt to lift it. The fact that Noah was able to pick it up without any anything happening only proves that he is at least somewhat worthy of it. Albert then pats Noah on the back and walks out of the room, saying that this was a valuable demonstration. As Albert leaves, Noah can't believe that this bastard was testing him the entire time using something that could have easily killed him. However, he decides to keep those thoughts to himself because he knows that if he were caught saying something like that out loud, he would be dead on the spot. As the princes walk away, Henry asks Albert whether leaving Leviathan with Noah was really the best course of action, especially since the sword was extremely expensive. Albert replies that the sword is far better off in the hands of someone as brilliant as Noah. On top of that, he adds that it is precisely because Noah is so brilliant that he needs to experience what it feels like to be bitten by his own pet. Later that night, Noah notices that his maid, Zoe, seems unusually uneasy about something. He asks her what's wrong, but Zoe doesn't want to trouble him with her personal problems and tells him not to worry about it. Noah insists, and after some hesitation, Zoe finally opens up. She tells him that she would like to request some time off because her hometown was recently flooded, and the farm where she grew up was completely washed away. That farm was her mother's only source of income, so Zoe has been considering working in the red light district, since people told her she could sell herself for a very high price as someone who once served an imperial prince. Noah immediately tells her that there's no way he's going to allow that to happen. Instead, he offers to employ her mother at the mansion as the person in charge of opening the gates, and he promises to pay her handsomely. Zoe tries to point out that the salary he's offering for that position is far higher than what is normally paid. Noah then adds that there is also an unused house near the mansion, so Zoe and her mother can live there together. Upon hearing this, Zoe breaks down into tears and repeatedly thanks Noah for his kindness and generosity. However, deep down, Noah knows that he isn't doing this purely out of goodwill. Having a former servant working in the red light district would stain the name of the 13th imperial prince. Zoe is his servant, and as such, she will serve him for life. After this unexpected act of kindness, Noah is fairly certain that she will never betray that loyalty. After that, he calls the butler, Dylan, and tells him about how Zoe's hometown also got flooded by a disaster. Because of that situation, he tells Dylan to go over there and buy as much land in Dasso as possible, because he knows that bandits would eventually arrive there to take advantage of the town during its time of weakness and chaos. He wants to secure and procure the land before that manages to happen, and before things get worse. Dylan is surprised by this order because even though Noah is still very young, he is able to handle a situation he has never personally experienced before with such sharp foresight and careful thinking. In reality, this exact kind of thing had already happened to Noah in his previous life, but of course he can't tell anyone about that fact, so he decides to stay quiet and say nothing. Dylan admits that it's a very good idea, but the real problem is how they are supposed to get the money needed to buy the land, because purchasing that much land would cost nothing less than several hundreds of thousands of rian, which is the currency used in this empire. Noah realizes that he didn't really think that part through properly, so after thinking about it for a little while, he finally concludes that they will just have to sell the land they own south of the capital city. Dylan questions whether that's truly a good idea, because that land was a gift personally given to Noah by the king himself, and selling it without permission could even be considered a serious crime. However, Noah tells Dylan not to worry about the king's reproach or anger, because he will personally bear the full consequences of that decision. Noah says that this is what being a noble is all about, making sacrifices so that the lives of other people can become easier and safer. Dylan understands the meaning behind those words and thanks Noah for making such a decision, especially because he shares the same hometown as Zoe, so he feels deeply grateful from the bottom of his heart. The next day, Noah has liquidated the funds and is getting ready to buy as much land as he possibly could. He's now getting ready to go and inspect it in person, but that's when he receives an unexpected visit from his brother, Henry. Henry notices that Noah is taking the Leviathan sword along with him and immediately asks what that's about. Noah explains that he felt some kind of power coming from it a while ago, but hasn't felt anything since then, so he plans on testing it out while they are in Dasso. That aside, Henry tells Noah that the Leviathan sword has a will of its own. Apparently, it only obeys the one person it recognizes as its true master. With that information, Noah immediately understands that he's going to need to earn its recognition somehow. The Leviathan sword is basically like a mad dog right now, and it needs someone strong enough to tame it. Henry tells Noah that he can take the sword along with him if he really must, but he should not use it unless the timing is right, or else it could end up killing him. After saying that warning, Henry simply turns around and leaves. Shortly after that, they arrive at Dasso and see that the flood has completely turned the area into a desolate wasteland. From the looks of the destruction, they assume that most of the ruined homes also lost their land deeds in the flood, meaning they will have to buy the land based on the government office's official records instead. Dylan and Zoe are amazed that a child who is decades younger than both of them was able to deduce all of this just by taking one look at the situation. Noah tells them calmly that it's just simple logic. After that, Noah and Zoe begin surveying the land together until they notice food being distributed to a group of villagers by the Empire's caterers. Noah takes a bowl of the food and quickly realizes that it is terrible and even tastes somewhat spoiled. One of the villagers overhears Noah's comment and tells him that they really can't complain because they're lucky to be getting even this much food in the first place. Noah can't believe that the Empire would be serving such substandard food to its people during a disaster. Then all of a sudden, the local government official, Lord Garl, arrives on the scene to conduct an official inspection of the area. Garl knows very well that the food being given to the villagers is terrible, but he doesn't care because he isn't the one eating it. Noah can't stand watching this anymore, so he confronts Garl directly and accuses him of embezzling the funds meant for food rations. Noah says that instead of providing proper meals, Garl has been stealing the money and serving the villagers slop. Garl doesn't deny it at all. He openly admits that those at the top of the food chain deserve to eat first, and he and his men laugh about it. Seeing their attitude makes Noah furious. He warns Garl about the consequences of his crimes, but Garl doesn't appreciate a child talking back to him. He draws his sword and prepares to attack Noah. At that moment, the Leviathan sword flies out of its box on its own and hovers beside Noah. The sword begins to test him, pouring its power into his body to judge whether he is worthy. Parts of Noah's body start to darken, as if he's about to be consumed by the sword's curse. Just as it seems like he's going to lose, Noah feels a surge of adrenaline and willpower. He proves to Leviathan that he can endure its power, and after a brief struggle, the sword fully submits to him. Enraged, Garl moves to kill Noah, but Noah strikes first and uses Leviathan to cleanly cut off Garl's head. His lackeys, furious at seeing their leader killed, prepare to attack Noah as well. To intimidate them, Noah strikes the ground with Leviathan. The attack leaves behind a massive crater so deep that the bottom can't even be seen. Noah himself is shocked by the sheer power of the sword. Shortly after, Rowan, the knight captain assigned to Dasso, arrives and is stunned by the scene. When he recognizes Noah as the 13th Imperial Prince, he immediately kneels. The others are confused until Rowan announces Noah's identity, causing everyone present to bow in fear and respect. Noah explains how Garl and his men were stealing from the villagers, which is why Garl was executed. He orders Rowan to ensure that the remaining corrupt officials receive proper punishment. Noah also commands that food distribution be restarted properly so the villagers can eat well. Overjoyed, the villagers praise Noah for saving them. Meanwhile, Albert receives a report that Noah successfully tamed the Leviathan sword. He smirks, realizing Noah may be far more useful than he expected. Later, Noah meets his father, expecting punishment for selling gifted land. Instead, the Emperor thanks him, explaining that Noah's actions prevented bandits from exploiting the flood. The Emperor is also pleased that Noah mastered Leviathan. When Noah's stats are checked again, his water skill has risen to triple-S rank due to the many subordinates he gained while helping Dasso. Deeply impressed, the Emperor asks Noah to continue using his talents for the Empire, and Noah agrees. The next day, Noah heads over to a small local diner located on Raid Street in search of a popular street singer who often performs there. After entering the diner, he finds an empty seat and sits down, quietly observing the place. Not long after that, a pink-haired girl steps forward and begins to perform in front of the customers. As she continues singing, Noah recalls hearing rumors about her before and remembers that her name is Alichi. As Noah listens carefully, he thinks that her voice itself isn't bad at all. However, he can clearly tell that her singing technique still has a lot of room for improvement. Even so, it's obvious to him that she takes her singing very seriously and puts genuine effort into every note. She isn't just singing for fun, she's trying her best to improve and survive through her talent. Suddenly, the atmosphere in the diner changes completely when three rough-looking men burst into the room. They start yelling loudly and draw everyone's attention. The men shout at Alici, demanding to know why she's wasting time singing instead of finding a better way to pay off the debt her parents owe them. Hearing this, Alici shrinks back in fear as the men surround her. With a trembling voice, she tells them that she doesn't have enough money to pay off the debt yet, but she insists that she's trying as hard as she can since she has no money to offer. The men begin discussing the second best way for a woman to repay a debt. The people inside the diner can only watch in shock and disgust, unable to do anything to stop it. Before the situation can get any worse, Noah suddenly stands up from his seat. He walks calmly toward the men and reminds them that it is strictly against imperial law to force a child to take responsibility for their parents' debts. The men scoff at him and assume he's just a spoiled and clueless brat. One of them grabs Noah by the shirt and prepares to attack him. In response, Noah instantly counters by using the power of his Leviathan sword. The overwhelming force shocks everyone in the room. After seeing the terrifying strength Noah possesses, the three men panic and immediately flee the diner, running away before things can escalate any further. Once the danger is gone, Noah turns back toward Alici and speaks to her gently. He asks her how much she needs to get by each month, and she explains that a large part of her expenses goes toward paying for her mother's medical treatment. After hearing this, Noah tells her that from now on, he will pay her 25 rian every month so she can focus fully on her singing. On top of that, he promises to increase her pay as her skills improve, encouraging her to continue pursuing her passion without fear. Alici thanks Noah deeply and tells him that she truly appreciates what he has done for her. She promises him that she will not let him down and that she will work hard to improve her singing. Later that same evening, Noah returns back home, only to see the same three men he confronted at the diner kneeling in front of the palace gate. They are bowing their heads and begging to apologize for their actions earlier. Noah looks at them for a moment and quickly realizes that they must have finally figured out who he really is. Instead of meeting them, he calmly tells the maids to send them away, explaining that the prince is not someone they can see whenever they feel like it. Not long after that, Noah's elder brother, Henry, walks in and agrees with Noah's decision. He admits that refusing to meet them was the right choice, because allowing people like that to see royalty so easily would lower the value and authority of the royal family and the prince's position. Noah then takes Henry inside and explains that his decision was not only about protecting the dignity of royalty. He explains what happened at the diner and says that if he personally addressed the men, they would continue to believe that he was angry at them. That fear would likely make them stay far away from Alici, which is exactly what Noah wants. Henry is honestly impressed by this way of thinking. Despite Noah's young age, he was able to think several steps ahead. Henry admits that even his brothers who are around Noah's age wouldn't have thought that far, which makes him even more impressed. Changing the subject, Henry then asks Noah about the Leviathan sword and whether the rumors are true about him mastering it. Noah confirms that it's true and says that it was only possible thanks to the advice Henry gave him before. To prove it, Noah demonstrates by making the Leviathan sword appear right in front of him as if it came out of thin air. Henry is completely shocked by what he sees because he never even knew the Leviathan sword was capable of doing something like that. Noah explains that the sword didn't actually materialize from nothing. Instead, it was hidden beneath his sleeve and expanded in size on command. Since the sword has a will of its own, it was the one that taught him how to perform that technique. Henry admits that he never knew such a thing was possible and praises Noah for discovering it. Later on, outside the palace, the same three men from earlier are still waiting for Noah to come out. The moment one of them spots him, the man immediately attempts to attack, but Noah quickly releases a bit of his power. This causes the man to shrink back in terror and apologize. Confused, Henry asks Noah what he just did, and Noah explains that he simply intimidated them by drawing on the power of his sword. Later that evening, Noah is invited to attend a royal ball. As he arrives and walks into the hall, everyone present begins applauding him. A lord standing beside him, named Radok, notices that Noah is carrying something at his waist. Noah confirms this and explains that it's the Leviathan sword, which was gifted to him by the crown prince himself. The moment everyone hears this, the entire room gasps in shock. They recognize the Leviathan as a national treasure that is rumored to be nearly impossible to control. One of the guests assumes that the sword must be a fake or just a replica. To prove them wrong, Noah Noah releases a small portion of the sword's power. The guests immediately cower in fear as they feel the overwhelming force coming from it. Once Noah stops the sword from releasing its power, the guests have no choice but to accept the truth. They are left stunned and deeply impressed that someone as young as Noah is able to control the real Leviathan sword. For the rest of the event, many nobles begin lining up one after another just to introduce themselves to Noah. Each of them greets him politely and tells him how honored they are to be standing in his presence. Noah listens calmly to every introduction and responds in a polite and respectful manner. After a while, the next people in line step forward, and they turn out to be Brian Allen, the head of the Brian Company, along with his daughter, Cindy. Noah carefully looks at both of them, and after observing for a moment, he is able to deduce something surprising. He realizes that Cindy is not Brian's biological daughter, but his adopted one. Not only that, Noah can also tell that Cindy used to be a slave in the past. He comes to this conclusion because of the cautious and searching look in her eyes, a look that he knows is unique to people who once lived as slaves and were constantly watching their surroundings. Brian is shocked that Noah was able to figure all of that out just by looking at her. He kneels down in front of Noah and admits that it's true. He explains that he originally bought Cindy as a slave, but after noticing how quickly she learned and how intelligent she was, he decided to adopt her as his daughter instead. Hearing this makes Noah genuinely happy, because he truly loves hearing stories like this where someone's life was changed for the better. Noah smiles and invites Brian and Cindy to visit his mansion sometime in the future, saying that he would love to hear more about Cindy's story. Brian respectfully agrees and says it would be his pleasure to visit. After that, Brian and Cindy bow politely and take their leave from the event. The next day, Noah is taking a relaxed walk through town when he suddenly runs into his brother Oscar, who happens to be the 8th prince of the kingdom. After chatting with Noah for a short while, Oscar invites him to go on a treasure hunt together, saying he has nothing better to do that day. Noah agrees, and the two of them immediately head toward Cobalt Street. Noah has never been to Cobalt Street before, but he has heard many rumors about it. It's said that antiques from all across the empire can be found there. However, Oscar explains that the area is also famous for being filled with counterfeits. Because of that, being able to find real treasures among fake ones is considered a basic skill that every noble should have. The two of them spend most of the day searching through shops and stalls, but they don't find anything special. Eventually, Oscar suggests that they should just call it a day and head back. Right before leaving, Noah notices a book that catches his interest, so he decides to buy it. Oscar takes a closer look at the book Noah purchased and suddenly freezes in shock. He realizes that the book is actually the grimoire of Andrea, the legendary sorcerer. Oscar is convinced that this is the real thing and not a fake. If that's true, then depending on what's written inside, the book could be worth up to 1,000 rian. Oscar asks Noah how he knew the book was real, but in truth, Noah had no idea at all. The only reason Noah bought it was because the moment he touched the book, a plus was added to his win stat. That strange reaction made him think the book might be special. Suddenly, Noah gets an idea. He pulls out the Leviathan sword and slowly begins pouring some of its energy into the grimoire. After a short while, Noah loses control of the book. It slips from his hands, falls to the ground, and opens on its own to a spell page. This triggers something unexpected, causing the forbidden tome and the sorcerer's soul sealed inside it to materialize right in front of them. Oscar immediately realizes how dangerous the situation has become and shouts for Noah to run away as fast as he can. Instead of running, Noah calmly raises the Leviathan sword and swings it once. With a single powerful slash, he strikes the sorcerer's soul and completely wipes it out on his own. After the enemy is finally defeated, Noah looks toward his status screen and notices that his wind skill has gained an SS rank. Seeing this leaves him slightly surprised, but he doesn't dwell on it for long. He quickly turns around and goes to check on Oscar. Oscar is completely stunned and can barely believe what he just witnessed. He keeps wondering how Noah was able to make such a decisive move so quickly, and more than that, how he managed to grow so strong in such a short amount of time. Before Oscar can even finish processing what happened, a merchant steps forward and kneels before them. The man introduces himself as Alan, the owner of a nearby antique shop. Alan explains that after witnessing Noah's incredible feat, he feels compelled to show them an artifact that he believes to be a true treasure. He respectfully asks them to follow him to his shop. Once inside, Alan presents a strange and rare ring. He explains that the ring is rumored to only only reveal its true form when its rightful owner appears. According to him, many people have tried wearing it in the past, but it never reacted to any of them. Hearing this, Noah assumes that the ring might just be a useless piece of junk. However, Alan quickly disagrees and says that he doubts it's fake. He explains that he has tried selling and getting rid of the ring several times, yet somehow it always returns to his shop, appearing back among his inventory without explanation. Curious, Noah decides to try the ring on. The moment he puts it on his finger, he hears an unfamiliar voice speaking directly to him, saying that it is of triple his rarity and it recognizes him as its new owner. Right after that, the ring begins to react. It releases a strange light and starts transforming, wrapping around Noah's body and forming a set of top-tier armor around him. Seeing this, both Oscar and Alan immediately understand that Noah is the ring's true owner. Noah tells Alan that he will take the ring and have the payment sent later. Before Alan can respond, Oscar steps in and tells Noah not to worry about paying for it. He says he will handle the payment himself and tells Noah to consider the ring a gift. With that settled, Noah accepts the ring. Not long after, Oscar drops Noah off and bids him farewell. Just as Noah is about to head inside, the rugged man from the diner suddenly rushes toward him and tries to strike him with a sword. Before the attack can land, the ring senses the man's hostile intent and instantly forms a protective shield, blocking the strike completely. The carriage driver reacts quickly and tackles the attacker to the ground, restraining him. Oscar witnesses the entire scene and is impressed that Noah was able to use the ring's protection so naturally and instinctively. Seeing how smoothly it activated, Oscar realizes that Noah has already begun mastering its power. Later that night, Noah returns to the diner to watch Alachi sing. While she is performing, two drunk men suddenly jump onto the stage and begin fighting over her. Noah appears in front of them almost instantly and intervenes. He uses the Leviathan sword to strike them, sending both men flying out of the diner and running away in nothing but their underwear. After things calm down, Noah speaks to the diner owner and tells him not to let people like that enter the establishment anymore. The owner sighs and explains that unfortunately, people like those drunkards are what keep his business running. Noah understands what he means, so he makes a decision on the spot and offers to buy the entire business for 1,000 rian. The owner is shocked but deeply grateful and accepts the offer. After that, Alachi approaches Noah and tells him that she doesn't know how she could ever repay him for everything he's done for her. Noah gently tells her that she doesn't need to repay him at all. All he asks is that she continues singing because he sees her potential and wants her to devote her life to her music. With a warm smile, Alachi agrees. Noah then returns to his seat and spends the rest of the night quietly listening to Alachi's angelic voice as it fills the diner. The next day, while Noah is getting dressed, one of the maids comes in and tells him that a guest has arrived. The guest is Dead Marley, the Governor General of the Wholejoy community. When Noah hears the name, he immediately assumes the visit is related to his fief, so he tells the maid to let Dead come in while he finishes getting ready and will join him shortly. It is common tradition in the royal family to grant fiefs to princes so they can learn how government and leadership work in real situations. Because of this custom, the people living in those fiefs respect the prince ruling over them almost like a true monarch. Dead Marley is no exception to this way of thinking. When Noah and Dead meet, they sit down and talk for a while about general matters. As the conversation continues, Noah suddenly remembers that Dead had once received an imperial order to manage the flood control system in Wholejoy. However, judging by the state of the economy, Noah can already tell that things are probably not going well. Wholejoy is a fertile region known for producing large amounts of grain, and it sits along the bend of a massive river. Even so, the area still suffers from serious flooding from time to time. That constant flooding is the main reason the emperor appointed Dead, the leader of the Water Clan, to govern the region, hoping he could bring stability and control to the land. Dead does not beat around the bush. He openly says that the region he governs is far too poor to keep the flood control operations running, which is why he has come to ask Noah for a loan. Noah finds this hard to believe since it was an imperial order, and such an order should have come with proper funding. Dead then explains that the money meant for the project was never actually delivered. According to him, the Ministry of Finance keeps delaying the payment and giving excuse after excuse whenever he asks about it. After hearing this, Noah immediately stands up and takes Dead straight to see Maverick, the Minister of Finance. Noah demands to know why the funds meant for Wholejoy have been delayed for so long. Maverick calmly explains that there is a very reasonable explanation. He says that Wholejoy suffered massive flood damage again last year, and because the Emperor felt sorry for them, he granted the region a tax exemption. Maverick believes that Wholejoy should still have leftover tax money and should use that before asking for any additional financial support. Noah can tell right away that this explanation is nonsense. His expression hardens, his voice turns serious, and he tells Maverick to stop lying and speak honestly. Maverick never expected Noah to confront him so directly and is clearly shocked by the sudden change in tone. After a moment, Maverick finally admits the truth. He says that even if he wanted to send the money, he cannot do so right now because the Emperor is planning a vacation in a few months. Maverick believes it would be better for the Emperor to spend his holiday in a cool villa instead of the hot capital, and funding that luxurious trip will cost an enormous amount of money. Noah immediately sees through that excuse and knows it's just a typical embezzlement tactic. So he tells Maverick to distribute the funds to Wholejoy, or he will personally appeal to the Emperor himself. Maverick immediately begins to grovel, begging Noah not to tell the Emperor about it. He also agrees to supply Wholejoy with as much funding as they need. Dead watches the entire scene unfold and is left in complete awe. He cannot believe that someone so young could make the Minister of Finance grovel at his feet without even lifting a finger. From that moment, Dead admires Noah deeply and respects him more than ever. After this, Dead returns to Wholejoy to begin implementing the flood control measures as quickly as possible. Shortly after that, a royal messenger arrives to inform Noah that the Emperor has summoned him to the palace immediately. Noah obeys the summoning and kneels before the Emperor, wondering what could be the reason for this sudden call. To his surprise, the Emperor explains that he only summoned him to commend him for taking decisive action on behalf of Wholejoy and for thwarting Maverick and his embezzling ways. Noah accepts the compliment, but he can't help feeling puzzled about how the Emperor already knew, considering that everything had taken place less than 30 minutes earlier. Immediately after, the Emperor turns to him, pats him on the head, and says that what he did today is truly exceptional for someone of his age. Noah is so surprised by this that he even begins to blush slightly. Aside from that, the Emperor mentions another impressive feat of Noah's. He has been able to wield the Leviathan sword, a weapon with a dark and dangerous history. At such a tender age, seeing the great potential in Noah, the Emperor went as far as hiring the best swordsman in the Empire, Damien, to train him in the proper way to wield it. Damien is said to be the most skilled swordsman in the Empire, someone no one is capable of defeating, so the Emperor is confident that Noah would gain a lot of knowledge and skill under his guidance. Damien is honored to have been chosen for this important task. Even with that, he still believes it necessary to give Noah a quick test first, in order to gauge his current strength and determine where to start his teaching. They immediately begin sparring. As they fight, Noah starts feeling the memories and techniques of past Leviathan users flowing through him. Even though he still has the strength of a child, he is able to use the sword's technique to disarm Damien, who is considered the most powerful swordsman in the Empire. Damien then turns to the Emperor, bows deeply, apologizes, and admits that there is nothing more he can teach Noah because the boy was already able to use the Leviathan technique perfectly to disarm him. The Emperor just starts to laugh as he commends Noah for proving impressive once again. He then decides to make Noah the head judge for the knight selection exam because he knows that no one else would be better for the job. Noah walks up to him and agrees to the task with a slight smile on his face. The knight selection exam is an annual event that involves participants from all corners of the Empire. In this empire, a nation of warriors that treasures its military, people often believe that the way of the warrior is often the best way to gain success by merit. In the exam, fighters who win the preliminary rounds in their regions meet in the capital for their final battles. The one who emerges victorious would earn the title of knight and immediately join the upper ranks of society, with his first job being to serve as a subordinate of a head judge. Noah figures that with a talented knight in his service, he could definitely become much stronger than he already is. The Emperor then asks Noah that even if he is to do this, would he be judging by the method of elimination or by round robin, as that is the first thing a head judge must decide. In response, Noah says he has a request, which is to remove all the regional preliminaries and do all the judging in the capital. Noah's reason is that the Empire is really big, and he cannot observe all the preliminaries in every region, so he does not want any strong candidates to be excluded for arbitrary reasons. The Emperor has no problem with that and tells Noah to do as he pleases. The next day, Noah learns that there are some candidates for the night selection exam coming from a village. Since they only send one every year, he tells Zoe that they can send as many as they like now because he got rid of the regional preliminaries. But Zoe explains that the reason they only send one candidate every year is because transport and lodging for the exam are something they cannot afford. Noah does not want any strong candidates to be left out because they cannot afford to come, so he tells Zoe that he will cover all travel expenses. He then calls Dylan over and tells him to buy all the vacant houses in the country so they can be used as dormitories for the incoming guests. As for food, Dylan is instructed to contact several merchants so they can deliver food to the premises on a frequent basis. Later that day, Noah meets with Byron, who is the one in charge. When he looks at the bill, he finds it suspicious because it is much lower than what it is normally supposed to be. Byron tells him it is just a discount because he is the 13th prince of the empire, but Noah can already tell that is nonsense. So he assumes they must want something from him and asks what it is. Byron is surprised that a boy his age is able to see through it so easily. They explain that there is a palace employment exam that runs on roughly the same scale as the night selection exam, and they were hoping to get information from Noah about the kinds of people who would be hired. From that conversation, Noah can already tell that Byron wants a girl to be placed inside the palace. He honestly understands the reason behind it, because if someone had support within the palace, they would be the first to hear about any new information or changes that might come up. Noah tells Byron that he will agree to this request, but only under one condition. That condition is that he must sincerely approve of the girl who is chosen to be sent to the palace. Brian assures Noah that he will definitely like the girl he has in mind. After saying that, he bows deeply before Noah. Byron also says that he will place his family house crest on his store sign as a sign of admiration. Noah is pleased to hear this, but he firmly adds that he does not tolerate betrayal of any kind. On the ride back home, Noah suddenly realizes that accepting Byron as one of his subordinates caused one of his stats to increase. However, after a short while, he notices that another one of his stats has gone down instead. This immediately makes him uneasy, and he begins to wonder if something might have happened in Almeria. Because of this sudden concern, he tells Zoe that he is going to see the Emperor right away. Noah goes before the Emperor and explains that there have been some changes within the Empire. However, from the way his father responds, it almost seems as if the Emperor already knew about it. The Emperor then explains that a rebellion has broken out in Almeria. Upon hearing this, Noah realizes that his stat dropped from SS to S, but because the drop happened in a specific way that was different from other situations, he assumes that the rebellion must be small in scale. The Emperor confirms Noah's assumption and explains that there are 5,000 identified rebels, all located within Noah's fief. He then asks Noah how he plans to deal with them. Noah hesitates and admits that it would be impossible for him to handle it himself, since he is still young and unfamiliar with real combat. He is also unsure if the soldiers would even listen to him in the first place. Because of this, Noah suggests that if a prince must be sent, it should be his older brother Henry, who would be far more suited for the task. The Emperor respects Noah's decision and orders a servant to bring Henry to him immediately. About an hour later, Noah rides out of the palace together with Henry. Henry is surprised that Noah decided to give up such an opportunity, since an achievement like this could greatly benefit him in the future. Suddenly, the Leviathan senses danger, and Noah orders the carriage to come to a halt. At that moment, he realizes that the attackers are targeting him, and he cannot allow his brother to get involved. Noah steps outside the carriage, and immediately several water-based attacks strike him. Fortunately, he manages to raise a shield in time and protect himself. The rebels then reveal themselves and begin attacking Noah directly, but he easily cuts them down using the Leviathan sword, finishing the fight quickly and efficiently. After examining their bodies, Noah realizes that the attackers are cavalry soldiers. However, Almeria does not have a supply of war horses, so he knows something is wrong. The next day, Noah meets with Byron and explains the situation involving the rebels and the cavalry. He gives Byron 10,000 rien to buy up the entire supply of horse feed. Noah reasons that since war horses are not sold or bred commercially, the rebels must be stealing horse feed from civilians. If the feed supply is cut off, the rebels will be forced to steal from the soldiers instead, which will expose them. Byron immediately understands the plan and praises it as brilliant. Standing up at once, wants to put it into action. Noah looks up at the ceiling and feels confident that this plan will make things much easier for his brother when it comes time to fight. The next day, Noah kneels before the Emperor. The Emperor explains to him that the rebels from the other day were trying to kidnap him as a bargaining chip. Noah thinks about this and figures that for the rebels to admit something like that so easily, they must be lying about part of the story. The Emperor admits that Noah is right, but he tells him not to worry. He explains that he has ways to confirm whether someone is telling the truth, and by that, he means torture. Noah does not really know much about torture, so he simply takes his father's word for it and does not question it further. Putting that aside, the Emperor then praises Noah for coming up with the idea of buying all of the rebels' horse feed as a way of crippling their movement and transportation. When Noah hears this, he is shocked. He only made the decision to buy the horse feed not long ago, so he wonders how the Emperor found out so quickly. The Emperor steps closer to him and pats him on the shoulder. He tells Noah that both the great ideas he comes up with and his ability to act on them quickly are impressive, and that they are clear signs of a great leader. Noah thanks him for the compliment, feeling a little embarrassed and slightly blushing. The Emperor then says that he wants to reward him for his actions. After stroking his beard for a while and thinking carefully, he decides to add a sword to Noah's crest. Noah looks up in shock when he hears this. He knows that adding a sword to a crest is one of the highest honors possible. It would normally be considered sacrilege to add a sword to a crest without the Emperor's permission, and doing so could even be punishable by death. However, if permission is granted directly by the Emperor, it becomes a great honor because it means that the person has been specially acknowledged by him. Feeling deeply honored, Noah thanks the Emperor with great respect and gratitude. Later that day, Noah meets with Byron to give him a report on how the plan to buy all the horse feed is going. After giving a brief update, Byron tells Noah about a man named Carfun, who is the leader of the rebels. Byron explains that Carfun is an extremely tenacious man who will do whatever it takes to achieve his goals. Byron says that he is confident Carfun is nothing that Noah cannot handle, but he still wants Noah to be careful. Noah wonders why Byron is telling him this, sensing that there may be more to it than just a warning. Just then, one of the maids walks in and informs Noah that there is a wounded man at the main gate who says he has an urgent report for him. Noah quickly goes to the main gate. There, he sees a decurion of the army kneeling before him in terrible physical condition. The man announces to Noah that there has been a rebellion in Almeria, started by his own superiors who launched an uprising. He explains that he personally refused to go along with the rebellion, which is why he came to Noah first, risking his life to deliver this urgent news. Byron hears the report and quickly realizes that the information is not very useful, since Noah is already aware of the rebellion in Almeria. Even so, Noah still thanks the soldier for coming all this way. He tells the maid to take the wounded soldier inside for proper treatment. On top of that, Noah gives him 1,000 rian as a reward for delivering the message, then calmly walks away. Byron immediately follows after him and asks what the point of giving such a reward was, since the information was almost useless because Noah already knew about the rebellion. Noah admits that this is true, but he explains that the fact a mere soldier came all this way, risking his life to report directly to him, shows true loyalty. For Noah, that kind of loyalty deserves to be recognized and rewarded. Byron is left thoughtful after hearing this, beginning to understand Noah's way of thinking as a leader. Later that evening, while Noah is busy handling paperwork in his office, Zoe nervously walks in. She tells Noah that she was just offered about 500 rian by a random man to get him to drink something that looks like a sleeping drug. The moment Noah hears this, he immediately understands that it is the rebels' way of trying to make him fall asleep so they can abduct him. Even so, he is still surprised that they would go to such extreme lengths. Noah then asks Zoe why she came to him with this instead of taking the money. Zoe explains that she could never even dream of betraying him, especially after everything he has done to help her mother. Hearing this, Noah quietly walks back to his desk and writes her a check for 5,000 rian, since she did not sell him out for 500 rian. He adds an extra 0 as a reward for her loyalty. Zoe immediately refuses, saying that the amount is far too much. However, Noah insists and tells her to take it because she truly earned it. Zoe then bows deeply, tears in her eyes, thanking Noah over and over and calling him a truly generous master. After that, Noah tells Zoe that he wants her to do something else for him. Zoe immediately straightens up and says she will do whatever he asks. Noah Noah explains his plan. He tells her that he is going to drink the drug on purpose. When he falls asleep, she is to let the rebels take him. Then, as soon as they leave, she must run away as fast as she can and hide, because he knows they would only try to kill her if she stays around. Zoe thinks the plan is extremely dangerous, but after a moment of hesitation, she agrees to go along with it. They carry out the plan, and later that night, Noah wakes up in the back of a wagon with his hands and feet tied. Luckily for him, he had hidden the Leviathan, so he still has access to it. The 3 bandits guarding him were also careless enough not to take his ring away, so he uses it to cut his bindings and free himself. Noah then asks the Leviathan to show him her memories of what happened after he passed out from the sleeping drug. By looking through those memories, Noah sees how the bandits entered the mansion and abducted him. Now fully understanding the situation, he decides that it is time for him to strike. The rebels notice him standing up in the wagon, but they do not even panic because they still think Noah is just some weak, helpless kid. So they walk up to him, trying to tie him back up, but Noah simply pulls out his Leviathan and kills one of the bandits on the spot, and for a brief moment, the others freeze in place, unable to believe what they just saw. Even so, they quickly recover and choose to attack Noah together, thinking that numbers will give them the advantage. However, Noah easily solos them and defeats every last one without much trouble. Shortly after the fight ends, Zoe arrives with a search party. The moment Noah sees her, he scolds her for coming out to try and save him when he specifically told her to hide. Zoe lowers her head and says she just could not help it. She explains that she was so worried about him that she had to come out and look for him no matter what. Seeing how sincere she is, Noah forgives her and tells her not to do something so reckless again. He then orders the members of the search party to round up the corpses. While they are doing that, one of the soldiers is just about to pick up a dagger from the ground. Noah immediately shouts at him to stop and tells him not to touch it. He orders everyone to back away, and once they do, he steps closer and carefully observes the dagger. Noah wonders if this is the dagger he was warned about, because he can feel a massive amount of malicious energy flowing through it. Noah realizes that the dagger is cursed with deep hatred by the person who last wielded it. From the energy it gives off, he assumes that the person who used it must be the leader of the rebels. Using the Leviathan, Noah focuses on that energy signature. He then unleashes a long-range attack that travels across vast distances, passing through outer space itself, tracking the rebel leader's presence. The attack reaches its target and kills the leader of the rebels on the spot, ending him instantly. The next day, Noah meets with the Emperor. The Emperor commends Noah for this incredible feat, stating that it is not something many people could ever hope to accomplish. With the rebel leader now dead, the rebel forces quickly lose their direction and are soon suppressed by Prince Henry. Not long after that, everyone who was involved in plotting the uprising is arrested. Now that the situation is under control, it is time for the Emperor to pass judgment. After some careful consideration, he tells the executioner to ready the cattle because the traitors are going to be drawn and quartered. The jury and those present at the hearing celebrate when they hear this, believing it to be a fair and fitting punishment for such a serious crime. However, all of a sudden, Noah steps forward before the Emperor. He respectfully but firmly tells him that this decision is not the wisest choice, shocking everyone in the room as they wait to hear what Noah plans to say next. Noah tells the Emperor that the traitors must be punished strictly in accordance with imperial law. He explains that, according to the law, those who plotted the uprising are to be cut in half at the waist, while those who merely participated are to be hanged. He points out that having them drawn and quartered would not only be a violation of imperial law, but it would also damage the authority and order of the empire itself. If the Emperor were to ignore his own laws, it could throw his supremacy into disarray and give others a reason to question future judgments. The Emperor listens carefully and realizes that Noah makes a very good point. After a moment of thought, he changes his decision and announces that the traitors will be punished to the full extent of imperial law instead. He then thanks Noah for pointing out his mistake and for helping him uphold the law properly. Everyone present is left in awe at how confidently and calmly Noah just corrected the Emperor in front of everyone. Seeing Noah's wisdom and composure, the Emperor decides that he must reward him in some meaningful way. After considering it, he grants Noah the special title of Wise. Then, almost immediately, Noah notices his status in the stats window update to Wise Prince. This is something that has never been done before, making it an unprecedented honor. The people in attendance begin to cheer and praise Noah, openly calling him the Wise Prince. The nickname quickly spreads, and many look at him with renewed respect and admiration. After that, the Emperor reminds Noah that the knight selection exam is coming up soon. He asks Noah if he has already decided how he plans to judge the candidates. Noah responds that he does have a plan and promises to show him right away. Later, Noah demonstrates his idea to the Emperor by having servants splash him with water while he uses the power of his protection ring to block and deflect it. He explains that during the actual exam, he will have the participants attack him in a similar way. Based on how powerful and effective their attacks are, he will judge their strength, control, and overall potential as knights. The Emperor is impressed by the creativity of this method, but he also points out that it could be dangerous. He warns that if someone is strong enough to break through Noah's defenses, Noah himself could be put at serious risk. Noah calmly tells him not to worry, explaining that he is fully prepared to deal with that possibility and has countermeasures in place. Hearing this, the Emperor praises Noah once again for his confidence and sharp thinking. He tells Noah that he truly is lucky to have such a brilliant and capable son, and that Noah's future as a leader looks very promising. Later that night, the Emperor heads into the inner chambers with Noijel, the Prime Minister. There, he orders one of the servants to bring out the true seal of the Leviathan. Legends have always said that the true seal of the Leviathan must never be broken. However, seeing just how talented and extraordinary Noah has become, the Emperor cannot help but wonder what would happen if that seal were broken, and what kind of power or change it might bring. The day of the knight selection exam arrives, so commoners from even the deepest parts of the empire come out to witness the new age of knights and see how promising they are. But this year has pulled in a significantly larger amount of spectators because once rumors spread that one of the judges would be Noah, the wise prince, they all felt they had to come out and witness it for themselves. Noah is still planning on using his defense ring to test the candidates, so he's busy sipping tea on stage when one of the candidates suddenly comes up to him and tries to attack. However, his defense ring immediately activates and blocks the attack with a shield. The candidate tries repeatedly to break the shield with his sword, but it's just too strong to break through. The people all watch this and realize that this is the might of the wise prince. The Emperor watches the exam take place from above and admits that this year's exam is certainly more interesting than the last one. But that's just by the way, as he knows that the true purpose of the selection exam is to choose worthy knights. So he's eager to see the kind of people Noah is going to choose. By sunset, one of the candidates is seen using all of his magic capacity to try and hit Noah with a flame attack. But Noah simply creates a barrier that prevents the heat from reaching him. The candidate then runs out of mana and collapses to the ground, realizing that he's never going to make it in. Noah acknowledges that there haven't been any noteworthy candidates so far, so he's really eager to find someone who would surprise him. The next candidate is going to be the last one for the day, so Noah isn't really expecting much. The blonde candidate steps up and strikes with her sword. The shield catches it as expected, but unexpectedly, she manages to use her strength to break through it and lightly wound Noah. Noah himself is shocked at the sight of this. The guards immediately apprehend her and restrain her, but Noah tells them to let her go at once. Noah asks the candidate for her name, and she replies, saying it's Shirley Grant. Noah announces that Shirley here has just passed the exam, and everyone is shocked to hear that because no one has passed all day. The guards are especially surprised because Noah is letting the candidate who just wounded him pass. They then begin praising him, calling him a truly generous king. Noah then takes Shirley into his mansion. As she kneels before him, she worries about what kind of punishment she might receive for wounding him during the exam. She fears that harming a princess, even accidentally, could have serious consequences. But Noah quickly reassures her, telling her not to be silly, because what happened was clearly an accident. He smiles slightly and then surprises her by asking her to use that same thrust on him again. Shirley is taken aback but follows his order. She rises and thrusts her sword toward him. Noah raises his shield to block, and this time the shield does not break. He explains that this is what he could have done if he really wanted to block her attack after she broke through the first time. He had chosen not to do it initially because he wanted to see if she would follow orders faithfully without fear of harming him. After all, a knight's duty is to follow orders, and he does not need a knight who would hold back in fear. The fact that she attacked him earnestly twice, even after wounding him the first time, proves that she has the courage and and determination required to be a proper knight. Hearing this, Shirley is surprised to see that Noah has such a strong resolve despite being so young. His calm and confident demeanor shows her that he is truly capable of leadership. Overwhelmed by respect, she goes down on one knee and pledges her allegiance to him. She vows to serve him faithfully for the rest of her time as a knight. Noah is pleased to hear this and nods in approval. He then glances at his stats and notices that making Shirley his subordinate has boosted his abilities significantly, giving him another advantage as a leader. Just then, Zoe interrupts to inform him that the doctor, a man named Croy, has arrived to see him. Croy immediately begins examining Noah. After a careful assessment, he tells Noah that the strike from Shirley is not serious, as it did not rupture any veins or organs. Shirley watches the doctor with interest, noting the professional way he handles Noah. She is surprised by his methods because in her village there are no doctors at all. Noah, noticing her curiosity, asks why that is. Shirley explains that her village is poor and cannot afford doctors or medical training. When someone is sick, they usually rely on an elder to pray for them or perform rituals to address the cause of illness. Noah considers this and realizes that the fastest way to train new doctors is through apprenticeships. He instructs Shirley to select the smartest and most capable people from her village. He then asks Croy to take a few of them as apprentices, so they can one day become skilled doctors themselves. Croy agrees without hesitation. Noah tells Shirley not to worry about the costs, as he will cover all expenses for their training. At this, Shirley bows deeply, expressing her sincere thanks for his generosity. Shirley spends the night at the mansion and wakes up the next morning full of determination. She quickly puts on her armor and heads downstairs. As she walks through the halls, she comes across a couple of maids gossiping about who Noah is going to marry. The conversation catches her attention for a moment, but Zoe interjects, saying that it is far too early to be talking about such things. After all, Noah is only 6 years old. However, one of the other maids, Riane, scoffs at Zoe's comment and tells her not to be naive. She points out that all the other princes were married by the time they were 15. Zoe's expression does not change, remaining calm. Riane notices this and immediately jumps to a conclusion, thinking that Zoe must be secretly in love with Noah and wants to marry him herself. After all, Zoe has been diligently studying magic recently, and Riane assumes it is all for Noah's sake. Zoe gets a little flustered at first, but she quickly clarifies that her studies are not about marriage or love. She explains that she wants to be useful to Noah because of all he has done for her. With that, she anxiously walks away, leaving Riane to her own thoughts, and Shirley just stares at her in awe as she walks off. Meanwhile, the knight selections have just been completed, and Noah receives a report on those who were chosen. The knight praises his judgment and thanks him for his service, noting that because of him, only the best candidates were selected. Noah feels a quiet satisfaction, knowing that the kingdom's future is in capable hands. To celebrate the success of the knight selection exam, he decides to throw a small party the next day. He invites his old friend, Alichi, to perform that evening, wanting the gathering to be both festive and meaningful. During the party, Byron comes to pay his respects to Noah. Noah greets him warmly and explains that he partly organized this party for Byron as well. He tells him that all the merchants who have ties with the royal family are attending, making it an ideal opportunity for Byron to network and strengthen his business connections. Byron nods in understanding, recognizing the thoughtfulness behind Noah's gesture. The party continues, filled with music and laughter, as everyone enjoys the celebration of the recent achievements. After some time has passed, Zoe comes to inform Noah that he has received a letter. The note is unusual, there is no sender indicated, and the person who delivered it ran away immediately after leaving it. Before Noah opens the letter, Shirley cautions him that it might be dangerous. In response, Noah lightly touches his Leviathan sword to check whether there is any malicious intent hidden within it. However, Leviathan shows no reaction at all, indicating that the letter is safe. Once Noah opens the letter, inside he finds a message warning him about unsettling movements among the remnants of the Almerian rebels. The letter gives no further details, but Noah immediately begins to piece together the situation. He realizes that the person who delivered the message has likely gone undercover to observe and investigate these suspicious activities. Noah thinks about it for a while and figures out that the guy who sent this was that soldier from the other day who came to warn him about the rebellion. Zoe hears that and realizes that he has a point since he seemed to admire Noah a lot. But Noah points out that this is really bad because if he's playing pretend spy without any any real training, he is only going to get himself killed. Noah plans on calling his brother Henry and informing him about this so he can see whether he'll put it to an end before things get out of hand. But the next day, it's too late, as Noah receives word that the soldier has just been exposed and was tortured. Luckily, he wasn't killed because his brother's unit was able to get him out in time. Noah blames himself for not realizing this sooner. The guy was only tortured for not spilling the information he knew, and Noah thinks he should have just talked because no piece of information is worth losing such a loyal soldier. Noah tells Zoe to pass a message to the members of his brother's unit and tells them not to spare any expense when trying to save the soldier's life because he can't afford to lose such a loyal subordinate. The next day, Noah heads out with Shirley to buy a gift for Henry as a thank you for suppressing the rebellion. He goes to a nearby antique shop and is shown a bunch of fancy items, but he's not really impressed by any of them. What catches his eye is a piece covered by a cloak, so he asks the merchant to take it off. The merchant commends him for having a keen eye as ever. The cloak is lifted to reveal a beautiful glass sculpture of a goddess. It's a piece made by a famous artisan named Lindsay, and there are only two in existence. After examining it for a little while, Noah says he'll take this one and hands over 10,000 rian. But just then, his brother Oscar walks in and sees that Noah has already beaten him to finding the rare treasure crafted by Lindsay. There are only two in existence, and Oscar mentions that he is in possession of the other piece and has been searching for the second one to complete his collection. But Noah has already beaten him to it. Hearing that, Noah goes up to the sculpture and destroys it. Everyone is in utter shock as he shatters a priceless piece. However, Noah tells the merchant that his payment will still reach him. Upon hearing that, Oscar immediately understands why Noah did it. Since there are only two of these sculptures in existence, destroying one would leave only one remaining, thereby raising the value of the piece in Oscar's possession. Oscar admits it's a genius idea and is impressed by Noah as usual. After they leave the store, Noah notices that Shirley has something on her mind and asks her to speak. Shirley explains that his plan to raise the market value was genius, but she was surprised that he would destroy such a treasure. Noah explains that the sculpture wasn't the real treasure, it was just an object. He feels that the real treasures are people who are willing to dedicate their lives and hearts to the cause and show loyalty even in difficult times. They are the true treasures. Shirley smiles as she realizes that Noah is the one-in-a-million leader she had only read about in history books. She vows to serve him for the rest of her life. Noah says he plans on collecting more treasures like that. 6 years pass, and Noah has grown noticeably taller as he is now 12 years old and is being seen off by the maids and royal servants as he gets ready to embark on yet another adventure. A few days after his 12th birthday, one of the new maids, Gigi, peers out the window and can hardly believe what she sees. The line of people presenting Noah with birthday gifts has not ended. It has been going non-stop for the past 3 days. Surprised, she turns to Zoe for an explanation. Zoe calmly tells her that this is nothing unusual. Last year's gift giving had lasted for over an entire week, and this year is no different. He explains that the process is slow and time-consuming because it is not just about receiving the gifts and sending people on their way. Each gift must be carefully documented, and the person presenting it must also be properly recorded. This meticulous attention to detail ensures that nothing is lost, stolen, or misplaced. By this age, Noah has already gained recognition for his extraordinary abilities. He is now known as the prince capable of mastering the Leviathan sword, a feat that has earned him tremendous respect throughout the Empire. Because of this, by direct imperial decree, Noah has been stationed at the Ministry of Military Affairs, the organization responsible for overseeing the Imperial Army and all its operations. The person currently serving as the main minister of the ministry is none other than Noah's elder brother, Henry. Henry had previously requested Noah to meet with him, so when Noah arrives at the ministry, Henry welcomes him and explains the reason for the summons. Henry tells Noah that they have received an imperial order concerning the southern border, where a rebellion has broken out. The order states that one of his knights, Reus, is to lead a force tasked with suppressing the rebellion. Henry notes that if the rebels sense any mercy or hesitation from the imperial army, they will grow bold and overconfident. The most effective course of action is to demonstrate overwhelming strength immediately. Only by dispatching a strong and decisive army will the rebellion be crushed and order maintained. Noah listens carefully and quickly evaluates the situation. He immediately recognizes that Reus is the ideal choice to lead the army. Among all of Henry's knights, Reus stands out as the most talented and capable warrior. He is clearly the only one suitable to command the troops in such a critical mission. Noah has no objections to Reus being selected. However, Noah can't help but ask Reus how many soldiers there truly are in the force. Henry notices the guilty expression on Reus's face immediately. He leans forward, demanding to know what he is hiding. Reus, realizing he has been caught, drops to his knees and begins begging for forgiveness. His voice trembles as he admits his wrongdoing, though he hesitates, unsure of how Henry will respond. Henry, still confused by the situation, turns to Noah for an explanation. Noah calmly clarifies that in the Imperial Army, funding is often allocated based on how many soldiers are officially registered. Because of this system, it is not uncommon for those in charge to exaggerate their numbers. Sometimes merchants, collaborators, or even civilians are counted as soldiers to secure additional funding. Henry's eyes widen in surprise, and he feels a surge of anger. He is about to scold Reus for manipulating the records, but Noah stops him. Noah explains that this could actually work in their favor. Overestimating the number of soldiers might help intimidate the rebels, showing them the army's strength and discouraging any bold moves. Henry considers this for a moment and realizes that Noah is correct. He nods and commends Noah for his insight. Noah then turns his attention back to Reus and asks him to answer honestly how many true soldiers are actually in the army. Reus replies that there are approximately 2,000 real soldiers. Noah assures him that the number itself is not a problem, but it could become an issue if he fails to supply all of them. Thinking quickly, Noah takes a pen and a piece of paper. He writes a letter and hands it to Reus, instructing him to give it to the Minister of Military Affairs. Noah is confident that once the minister reads the letter, he will agree to cover those soldiers under miscellaneous expenses. At the same time, Reus is allowed to keep any excess. In return, Reus must guarantee that he will not be defeated, and Reus assures Noah that he will uphold his promise. After resolving the issue, Noah and Henry ride off in their carriages through the town. Henry reminds Noah that he has not yet experienced actual combat. Noah acknowledges this and explains that young princes are forbidden from going into war unless directly ordered by the emperor, as princes are considered valuable heirs. The kingdom has a history of royal infants dying shortly after birth, with some claiming it is due to an epidemic while others suspect poisoning. No one knows the true reason, so any prince who survives infancy is considered extremely precious. Henry thinks it would be beneficial for Noah to gain some real battle experience before taking control of his fief. Noah agrees, saying that he would obey any order from the emperor if the time comes. Suddenly, the carriages come to a halt. A young girl in rags has fallen in front of their path. From a nearby alleyway, several men emerge, dragging her by the hair and shouting insults at her. Noah immediately steps down from his carriage and demands that the men present their registration. Knowing that they are engaged in an illegal slave trade, the men laugh among themselves, completely dismissing Noah as nothing more than a spoiled, noble brat who wandered into something beyond his understanding. Convinced that intimidation alone will scare him off, they step forward with the clear intent to beat him into submission. Noah does not hesitate. In one smooth motion, he draws the Leviathan sword. Before the men can even react, he moves. The blade flashes through the air, and within moments, the men are taken down with overwhelming speed and precision. Once the threat is dealt with, Noah turns his attention to the girl who had been dragged across the ground. He checks on her condition, ensuring that she is no longer in danger. Before anything else can be done, a strange man steps out from the shadows of a nearby alley. Unlike the others, he remains calm, wearing a confident expression. He introduces himself as the one truly in charge of the illegal slave trade operating in the area. With a smug tone, he explains that his operation has the backing of the first prince, Gilbert. He suggests that Noah would be wise to forget everything he has seen and walk away, implying that interfering further would only bring serious consequences. Noah pauses for a brief moment, considering the situation. He understands immediately that the man is attempting to threaten him by invoking Gilbert's name, hoping to force him into backing down. However, the longer Noah observes him, the more obvious the lie becomes. The man's confidence feels forced and desperate. Without another word, Noah releases the aura of the Leviathan. The pressure alone is enough to crush the man's composure. He collapses to his knees, unable to resist the overwhelming presence bearing down on him. Noah then orders the knights to arrest all of the men for falsely claiming to act under the authority of the first prince. As Noah walks away alongside Henry, he calmly explains that that if these men truly worked under Gilbert, killing them outright would only damage Gilbert's reputation and make it seem as though the first prince openly allowed illegal slave trading. Instead, by treating them as frauds impersonating Gilbert's authority, the responsibility would fall back onto Gilbert himself to deal with the matter. In that way, the truth would surface without Noah directly accusing his own brother. Henry listens carefully and once again finds himself impressed by Noah's sharp judgment and political awareness. Even in such a tense situation, Noah had managed to think several steps ahead. Later that night, Noah and Henry sit down for dinner. The atmosphere is calm, but the earlier events still linger in Henry's mind. During the meal, the butler enters and delivers a message addressed to Noah from Gilbert. After the butler leaves, Henry asks Noah about the contents of the message. Gilbert expressed his gratitude for capturing the men who had been impersonating his authority. He added that he had intended to send them to court early the next morning. However, before that could happen, the men were found dead while unattended. The moment Noah finishes relaying the message, both he and Henry understand the truth. The explanation is far too convenient. The timing is too perfect. It becomes clear that Gilbert had indeed ordered those men to run the slave trade and eliminated them to erase any evidence once they were exposed. Henry reflects on this grim realization. Gilbert has long been known for indulging in reckless and immoral behavior, so this revelation is not entirely unexpected. Still, the fact that such corruption exists so close to the imperial family leaves a bitter taste behind. However, Noah is not completely surprised by what happened. He understands that although Gilbert is the first prince, he is still the son of a concubine. Because of that, Gilbert can never inherit the throne. Noah believes that this fact has always frustrated him, and that frustration likely pushed Gilbert to seek power and control through other means. Since he cannot rule the empire, he looks for things he can dominate from the shadows instead. When Noah explains this way of thinking, Henry is clearly surprised. He did not expect Noah to figure out something so complicated at such a young age. Later on, Noah sits down in front of the slaves he saved earlier. He calmly explains that he has already arranged things behind the scenes and that they will not be sold anymore. They are now free people and can leave if they wish. However, as Noah looks at their faces, he quickly realizes the problem. They do not look happy. Instead, they look lost. It is clear they have nowhere to go and no means to survive on their own. Taking this into account, Noah makes a decision. He chooses to buy them himself, not to treat them as slaves, but to give them shelter, food, and the basic necessities needed to live. This time, they will live as ordinary people, not property. Hearing this, the children are overwhelmed with gratitude. Many of them bow deeply, unable to properly express their thanks. Afterward, Dylan escorts them away so they can begin their new lives. The next day, Noah summons Evelyn and gives her unexpected news. He tells her that he is appointing her as the administrator of a small region within Almeria. This means she is now an official government representative. Noah explains that the land he is meant to rule is far too large for one person to manage alone, so he needs capable people to act as his representatives in different regions. For Evelyn, the promotion is almost unbelievable. Going from a maid to a regional administrator is a massive leap, and she does not know how to react at first. Noah explains that he has been observing her work for years and believes she is the smartest and most capable maid among them. That is why he chose her instead of anyone else. Evelyn hesitates and admits that she would rather stay by Noah's side and continue working directly for him instead of rising in status. Noah understands her feelings, but he insists that she accept the role. He tells her that he truly believes she is the best person for the job and that he trusts her completely. Hearing this, Evelyn's expression brightens, and she finally accepts the position with renewed confidence. Afterward, Shirley begins praising Noah for his kindness. However, before she can go on, Noah stops her and tells her that such praise is not something that should be spoken aloud. With that, he quietly leaves the room, leaving Shirley slightly stunned. Later that day, Noah is summoned by the Emperor himself. The Emperor praises Noah for protecting Gilbert's reputation and handling the situation discreetly. During this meeting, Noah also learns that Gilbert had reported himself to the authorities afterward. Noah realizes that this was actually a clever move. By openly reporting himself, Gilbert made it seem as though he had nothing to hide, making his hands appear clean despite everything that had happened. The Emperor then asks Noah whether he was injured in any way during the incident. Noah calmly replies that he was not hurt at all. The Emperor nods and comments that if he had been in Noah's position, he likely would have gone undercover. However, he He adds that doing so might have led to his defeat, as he would have hesitated too long while deciding whether or not to reveal his identity. At that moment, Noizhel speaks up and states that such hesitation would amount to the highest possible crime against the imperial family. His tone is firm, as though the matter is beyond debate. Noah, however, steps forward to correct him. He respectfully reminds Noizhel that under imperial law, attacking a noble is only considered a serious crime if the noble's identity has been revealed. If the attacker does not know the victim's status, the offense is legally treated as ordinary assault instead. The room fills with gasps as the spectators react in shock. Many of them stare at Noah in disbelief, especially since this is the second time he has openly corrected a high-ranking official on matters of law. Noah suddenly begins to sweat. He wonders if he has gone too far this time by pointing out the mistake so directly. He considers apologizing in front of everyone, fearing he may have embarrassed Noizhel when the comment could have been meant as a joke. Before Noah can say anything, the Emperor bursts into loud laughter. He turns to Noizhel and announces that he has won the bet. The Emperor then explains that he and Noizhel had made a small wager to see whether Noah truly understood imperial law well enough to explain it clearly. Since the Emperor already knew how strictly Noah follows the law, he was confident that Noah would respond exactly as he did. Clearly pleased, the Emperor makes a sudden decision. He declares that Noah will be appointed as the new Minister of Justice. As soon as the title is given, the spectators erupt into cheers and begin chanting Noah's name. Meanwhile, Noah remains frozen in place, completely shocked by what has just happened. Later that night, Noah attends another one of Alichi's concerts. Although he enjoys the music and the atmosphere, his thoughts keep drifting back to earlier events. He cannot fully understand why acting naturally and speaking honestly about the law led to such a major appointment. After thinking about it for a while, Noah realizes there is no point in overanalyzing the situation. He decides to set those thoughts aside and simply enjoy the concert, letting the music carry him through the rest of the night. The next day, Noah officially assumed his position as the Minister of Justice. Upon arriving at the ministry, he was introduced to his second-in-command, Viny Ossi. Viny appeared composed and professional, clearly experienced in handling the daily responsibilities of the office. Since it was his first day, Noah asked Viny to explain his primary duties. He wanted a clear understanding of how the ministry functioned. Viny began by outlining the structure of their responsibilities. One of the main duties of the Minister of Justice was coordinating courthouses across the empire. The ministry oversaw legal procedures, ensured consistency in judgments, and maintained order within the judicial system. In addition, Viny explained that in cases involving severe crimes such as insurrection, it was customary for a minister appointed by the emperor to personally judge the accused. This tradition had been especially important after the rebellion that occurred 6 years earlier. Hearing this, Noah understood that the ministry functioned as both an administrative authority and a high-level court. While local courts handled ordinary disputes, the ministry dealt with matters that affected imperial stability. After listening carefully, Noah asked Viny whether he personally presided over cases. Viny confirmed that he did. He regularly judged cases brought before the ministry. Noah then asked a direct question. He wanted to know how much Viny collected annually in bribes. The question caught Viny off guard. However, he quickly composed himself and replied that he did not accept bribes of any kind. Noah calmly told him to relax. He was not trying to force a confession or threaten him. He simply wanted the truth. There would be no punishment for honesty. After a short pause, Viny decided to speak openly. He admitted that he did accept bribes, though not frequently. The total amount he received in a year might amount to only a few hundred rian. He then clarified his personal policy. He never accepted bribes in murder cases. Such cases were too dangerous. They attracted scrutiny, and if exposed, the consequences would be severe. Furthermore, families of victims often held deep grudges. Accepting a bribe in such a case could easily make him a target for revenge. To reduce risk, Viny only accepted bribes in cases that could reasonably go either way. If a case was ambiguous and the evidence was not decisive, he allowed influence to guide the final judgment. In his view, this minimized suspicion while increasing his income. Once Viny finished, Noah took out a check and wrote an amount of 5,000 rian. He handed it to Viny. He explained that this amount was roughly 10 times what Viny earned in bribes annually. If Viny accepted the payment, he would agree to stop taking bribes entirely for as long as Noah remained Minister of Justice. Noah made it clear that he intended to fulfill the emperor's expectation. The judicial system had to reflect integrity and discipline. Corruption, even in small amounts, weakened the empire's foundation. Viney was impressed by Noah's determination and could see clearly why the emperor had given him the title of wise prince. For the first time, he understood the weight of Noah's resolve. But in the next moment, Viney set the check aside and told Noah that he didn't need any extra money. He promised that he would never take bribes under any circumstances. Noah was skeptical at first, but when he noticed his fire stat increase, he became convinced that Viney was truly on his side. With that reassurance, he agreed to move forward together. Later that night, Oscar organized a large celebration to honor Noah's appointment as Minister of Justice. Guests from across the empire had gathered, and the hall was filled with laughter, music, and speeches. Despite the festivities, Noah could not stop thinking about one question: why the emperor had chosen him over so many others to become Minister of Justice. Oscar guessed that it might simply be personal favoritism. Perhaps the emperor liked him and wanted to reward him. Noah considered this, but he felt there was something deeper at play, a purpose beyond mere preference. He turned to Oscar and asked if he remembered the time when the empire had almost collapsed. Oscar nodded. He explained that the empire had nearly fallen apart because of the old method for choosing a crown prince. Non-heir princes were forced to live idle lives, their domestic stability compromised, and this imbalance had caused internal instability. Since then, each prince was given their own fief and received proper education. Still, Noah believed his appointment as Minister of Justice meant more than just providing him with education or training. It suggested a far greater plan by the emperor. Oscar's eyes widened as he realized what Noah was thinking. If Noah's appointment was more than symbolic, it could mean that the emperor was preparing him to become the crown prince. Before he could say more, a butler approached Oscar and whispered in his ear. The information confirmed his suspicions completely. The emperor was planning to name Oscar the Minister Prince of Finance at tomorrow morning's assembly, confirming that this was all part of a larger plan. Oscar reminded Noah that the party was for him, and he urged him to focus on enjoying the celebration instead of dwelling on politics. Noah nodded, though the thought of his future responsibilities lingered at the back of his mind. Meanwhile, in the town, a group of armored men stormed a shady shack. The people inside were taken completely by surprise. Reports soon reached the emperor. 167 individuals had been arrested for plotting to pressure the king into abdicating. The plan was to replace him with Crown Prince Albert as quickly as possible. Naturally, many suspected that Albert had orchestrated the scheme to secure the throne, but the informant confirmed there was no evidence of his direct involvement. With that information, the emperor decided that Albert would not be punished. However, the leader of the rebellion, the person responsible for organizing the plot, would face execution. That aside, the emperor began thinking carefully about who would be worthy of inheriting the throne. In his view, both Gilbert and Albert were unsuitable for succession. However, he was convinced that his other children, such as Henry, Oscar, and Noah, still possessed great potential. Any one of them could become the next ruler, provided they passed the trial he was preparing. The following day, Noah received detailed reports regarding the insurrection. He learned that all the individuals arrested were closely connected to Albert. Most of them were known allies or long-time associates. From this, Noah concluded that it was highly likely Albert had some level of involvement. Under normal circumstances, nobles involved in crimes often received lighter punishments. Their status typically shielded them from severe consequences. However, insurrection was the one crime that allowed no leniency. Any noble found guilty of it was to be executed by being cut at the waist. The law was clear and uncompromising. Noah paused to consider the broader consequences. If Albert were formally implicated and executed, the stability of the empire would be thrown into uncertainty. Albert was still the crown prince. News of his execution could shock the nobility and create unrest. Power struggles might erupt across the provinces. Viney then reminded Noah that the emperor had given strict instructions. All those directly involved in the rebellion were to be punished accordingly. The command did not mention Albert specifically. It only referred to those who had been arrested. From that detail, Noah understood the emperor's intention. The emperor was deliberately leaving Albert's name out of the matter. Whether out of strategy or caution, he was choosing not to directly implicate his son. Noah stated that he was prepared to pass judgment. The next day, he knelt before the emperor and presented his decision. He declared that all 167 individuals who had been arrested for participating in the insurrection would be executed. The punishment would be carried out without delay. Noah explained his reasoning carefully, since the emperor had specified that only those arrested were to be penalized. It was clear that Albert was not to be formally included in the case. Therefore, to prevent speculation, the executions should be conducted as quickly as possible. By closing the matter swiftly, there would be no opportunity for the case to be reopened, and no room for deeper inquiry into whether Albert had been involved. In doing so, the legal system would enforce its authority while avoiding direct destabilization of the imperial succession. The emperor listened silently as Noah spoke. When he finished, the emperor commended him. He praised Noah's decisiveness of political balance. As a reward for his judgment, the emperor granted him an additional 1,000 rian to his annual allowance. Later that day, Noah and Shirley returned from the ministry. As soon as they approached the mansion, they sensed something was wrong. The gates were open, and several guards lay motionless on the ground. Without hesitation, Noah drew his Leviathan sword and rushed inside before the attackers could escape. Inside the hall, he saw one of the intruders finishing off a wounded servant. Before the man could react, Noah moved behind and cut him multiple times. The intruder tried to swallow something to end his life, but Noah quickly uses his ring's power to stop him. More intruders emerged from the corridors and attacked at once. However, Noah's movements were swift and controlled. The power of the Leviathan amplified his strength and precision. One by one, the attackers fell. Within moments, the mansion was secured. After the fighting ended, reports came in. The attackers were not ordinary bandits. They were the same insurgents connected to Prince Albert. This had not been random violence. It was a deliberate assassination attempt. Noah immediately understood the situation. Albert had likely ordered the attack to silence those who could link him to the insurrection. If any of them survived interrogation, his involvement might surface. Realizing this, Noah made a decisive move. He drove his sword into his own side, inflicting a controlled wound. Then he instructed Viney to report that the attackers had been executed after attempting to assassinate a prince. The official narrative would state that they were punished lawfully for attacking imperial blood. This approach would protect Albert from direct implication while maintaining public order. Shortly afterward, Viney carried out the staged executions formally. Noah received medical treatment for his injury and recovered under supervision. The next day, Noah goes to see the emperor to present a report on the situation, but the emperor is already well informed. Instead, he asks Noah about his injury. Noah tells him that he is recovering and offers an apology for his failure. Yet the emperor remains unconvinced that ordinary assailants could have wounded him. In that moment, Noah understands that the emperor is already aware that he inflicted the injury upon himself. He isn't surprised, considering the vast intelligence network under the emperor's control. A few minutes later, they go outside. During their conversation, the emperor began with a reflective statement. Of all emperors remembered as great leaders, 9 out of 10 tarnished their reputations later in life. Noah immediately sensed the deeper meaning. He suspected the emperor was referring to the crown prince's insurrection. It was now clear that the emperor no longer trusted Albert. However, openly stripping him of his title would damage the emperor's own legacy. Publicly disowning a crown prince after decades would signal instability. After thinking carefully, Noah asked the emperor for a favor. He proposed appointing himself, Oscar, and Henry as minister princes. In addition, he suggested creating a new position called Prime Minister Prince, a role that the crown prince would assume. The emperor initially refused. He told Noah to focus on healing his wounds and not overthink political matters. As the emperor began to walk away, Noah called out to him again. He explained that Albert had been crown prince for over 30 years. It was natural for him to grow impatient. Granting him the title of Prime Minister Prince would appease his ambition. He would feel closer to the throne, even though ultimate authority would still rest with the emperor. Noah clarified the system he envisioned. The emperor would retain final decision-making power in all matters. The new title would carry prestige but limited real authority. Albert would appear elevated, yet he would not gain control. The emperor stopped and considered the proposal. He had not expected such strategic thinking. After a moment, he commended Noah for the idea and agreed that this approach would stabilize the situation. He patted Noah on the head in approval. Noah felt relieved. The emperor had understood the proposal immediately, confirming his reputation as a capable ruler. Wanting to reward Noah, the emperor decided that money would not be sufficient. Instead, he led him to the imperial vault and told him to select any item of his choice. Noah allowed the Leviathan sword to guide him. Following its subtle pull, he walked toward a shelf and chose a small box resting there. The emperor was visibly surprised by his selection. As Noah opened opened the box, a sudden surge of flames burst outward, engulfing him in a wave of fire. The flames suddenly twist and condense, transforming into a fiery being that prepares to attack Noah. He immediately recognizes that this is no ordinary blaze. Just like Leviathan, it possesses a will of its own, meaning he will have to subdue it personally. Without hesitation, Noah summons Leviathan and channels its power to confront the fiery entity head-on. The clash is intense but brief. Overpowered, the being compresses into a ring and drops directly into Noah's hand. Checking his status screen, Noah sees that his fire aptitude has increased by C rank, confirming that he has successfully tamed the entity. The Emperor approaches, praising Noah for making such a decisive choice without hesitation and expressing surprise at how quickly he managed to tame it. He explains that the being's name is Luthier. As Noah places the ring on his finger, he can immediately sense the immense power flowing through him. The Emperor offers to prepare a test target so Noah can measure Luthier's strength, but Noah declines, saying he already has something in mind. Outside, in the Emperor's presence, Noah activates Luthier and unleashes its flames directly onto himself. At the same time, he summons Leviathan to block and contain the heat. The result confirms his suspicion. While Luthier is powerful, Leviathan is slightly stronger. The Emperor watches in astonishment, impressed not only by Noah's ability to tame Luthier, but also by his control over both forces. Satisfied, the Emperor formally entrusts Luthier to Noah and instructs him to wield its power for the good of the Empire. A few days later, Noah is summoned again. The Emperor presents a personal declaration sent by his younger brother, Graham. The issue concerns Graham's son, who governed his domain with severe tyranny. During a drunken argument, the young noble killed a man. The Emperor acknowledges that the crime is grave. However, Graham has offered to pay a fine on behalf of his son. Noah immediately recognizes the legal and ethical issue. According to imperial law, a parent cannot simply pay to absolve their child of a serious crime. Justice must be upheld. The Emperor notes that Graham is offering 30,000 rian, a staggering amount equal to roughly 250 times the capital's annual income. Such funds could greatly assist with disaster relief and suppressing revolts. He suggests revising the law to set a new precedent that would allow such fines. Noah firmly objects. He argues that establishing such a precedent would send a dangerous message that crimes can be excused if one is wealthy enough to pay. This would weaken crime prevention efforts and encourage corruption. Since only nobles and the wealthy could afford such penalties, it would create inequality before the law and destabilize the empire's moral foundation. Though Noah understands that the empire is financially strained, he insists that revenue must be earned through legitimate and honorable means rather than through compromised justice. The Emperor reflects on Noah's reasoning and acknowledges his wisdom. Recognizing that Noah has prevented him from making a short-sighted decision, the Emperor commends him for his integrity. In response, he drafts an official appointment letter on the spot, promoting Noah once again to the position of premier advisor. After receiving his promotion, Noah presents another proposal to the Emperor. This time, his idea is different. He suggests that instead of allowing people to pay money to escape punishment, the Empire should allow them to donate money to gain honor. For example, anyone who donates 1,000 rian to the Empire could receive an honorary knighthood. However, Noah makes it clear that strict rules must be attached. The title would be ceremonial only. It would not grant military command, political power, or legal privilege. There would also need to be background checks to prevent criminals from abusing the system. Noah explains that many wealthy individuals already have more money than they can spend. Once people reach that level of wealth, they often begin to seek recognition and status instead of material goods. If the Empire offers honor instead of legal favors, it can raise funds without weakening justice. The Emperor quickly recognizes the wisdom in this approach. It strengthens the treasury while preserving the integrity of the law. He praises Noah for the clever solution and immediately orders crews to summon Oscar so they can begin organizing the policy. Shortly after, Noah remembers that he still has unfinished work at the ministry. He respectfully asks for permission to leave. The Emperor commends him once more for his insight and grants him leave without hesitation. As Noah walks through the palace grounds, he notices a group of servants gathered around a large hole in the ground. It is the crater he created earlier while testing Luthier's flames. Shizu approaches him and explains that the servants are still amazed by the display of fire manipulation. Some of them were trying to measure how deep the hole was, and one servant even slipped and fell inside while leaning too far forward. Hearing that someone was injured, Noah immediately hands Shizu a pouch of money. He instructs him to make sure the injured servant receives proper treatment. As Noah prepares to leave, he notices that Shizu is holding a covered container. Curious, he asks about it. Shizu uncovers it and reveals several rhinoceros beetles. He explains that he is delivering them to the 16th prince, who enjoys making the beetles fight each other for entertainment. During his carriage ride home, that small detail sparks an idea in Noah's mind. If beetles can fight and grow stronger through combat, perhaps Leviathan and Luthier can as well. Once he arrives home, Noah summons the mini forms of Leviathan and Luthier. The two spirits appear, small but still radiating power. Without delay, they begin fighting each other. At first, the battle appears balanced. However, as the fight continues, the difference in strength becomes clear. Leviathan overwhelms Luthier and wins decisively. While watching closely, Noah realizes that both spirits are using techniques from their former masters. Their movements, timing, and strategies reflect past experiences. By observing them, Noah can learn combat methods he never studied before. Simply watching their battle may help him improve. One of the maids nearby becomes completely fascinated by the sight. She hesitates, then apologizes for watching without permission. Noah calmly tells her it is fine, so she continues observing quietly from the side. After several rounds, Noah notices something surprising. His level has increased. He pauses and considers the possibility that the repeated battles between Leviathan and Luthier are somehow contributing to his growth. To test the theory, he commands them to fight again. This time, something unexpected happens. Luthier performs much better than before. In a sudden reversal, Luthier defeats Leviathan. At the same moment, Noah checks his status. His fire skill has risen to B rank. Zoe then decides to experiment as well. She uses one of the skills she recently learned and applies it to Noah. After the effect settles, Noah checks his level again. It has increased once more. Zoe is visibly impressed. If Noah continues making powerful spirits fight, he may keep leveling up without limit. But Noah shakes his head. He explains that growth is never that straightforward. Fighting the same opponent repeatedly will eventually produce smaller results. Progress will slow down once the learning value decreases. There must be a deeper system behind how this works, though he does not fully understand it yet. If he truly wants to maximize this method, he concludes that he may need to obtain more magical artifacts like Leviathan and Luthier. With more varied powers and techniques, he could continue learning and growing stronger in ways others cannot easily replicate. Just then, Henry arrives. He immediately praises Noah for the idea of making Leviathan and Luthier fight to increase his level. He says it is a clever and efficient method of growth. After that, Henry places a sealed box on the table. He informs Noah that the monster nest has finally matured. That means it is time for Noah to take part in his first expedition. Henry explains that the monster nest is a controlled hunting ground managed by the Ministry of Military Affairs. It exists to serve as the first official campaign for every prince of the empire. It is meant to test leadership and tactical skill in real combat conditions. He then gestures to the box he brought. He explains that when Noah opens it, it will display a reading. That reading will show how many soldiers Noah should take with him for the campaign. Ideally, the number should not be too high or too low. Too many soldiers would be wasteful and unnecessary. Too few would be dangerous. Noah opens the box. A glowing indicator appears. The reading shows only one. This means that only one person is required for the mission. That one person is Noah himself. Henry looks at the result and cannot hide his surprise. The device is designed to calculate proper force requirements based on strength and risk. If it shows 1, it means Noah alone is considered sufficient to handle the entire expedition. Henry once again expresses his admiration for his brother's growing power. Later that evening, Zoe informs Noah that he has a visitor. Noah steps outside and sees Rias waiting for him. Rias delivers unexpected news, saying that Noah's first campaign is going to be postponed. When the Emperor learned that Noah's reading was 1, he was deeply impressed. He believes such a remarkable result should not be handled quietly. Instead, he wants the campaign to be organized on a grand scale. He is even considering a way to publicize the event so the people of the Empire can witness Noah's strength and hear of his achievements. After hearing this, Noah understands that the expedition will not happen anytime soon. Preparations for something on that scale will take time. The following day, Noah leaves with Shirley and visits the same merchant shop where he once purchased his protection ring. He approaches Alan and asks if he has any magical items that possess a will of their own, similar similar to Leviathan or Luthier. Unfortunately, Alan shakes his head. He says he does not currently have any items of that nature in stock. Noah gives Shirley a small signal. She immediately steps forward and places a heavy pouch filled with money on the table. As Noah turns to leave, he calmly tells Alan to notify him immediately if any such magical items appear in the future. With that, he exits the shop, already thinking ahead about how to grow stronger before his grand campaign finally begins. On his way out, Noah walks through the market and suddenly notices a nobleman beating a common merchant. The noble is angry because the merchant sold an item to another customer instead of him. Noah immediately steps forward and asks what is happening. The man turns around and recognizes Noah as the Minister of Justice. He introduces himself as Dalem, a member of the House of Gilbert. Hearing that he is a noble only makes Noah more confused. He cannot understand why a noble would behave in such a way. Dalem explains his attitude by saying that nobles like him can do whatever they want. He believes that nobles can only be convicted of serious crimes such as insurrection, and that ordinary offenses have little consequence. Because of this, he feels that beating a merchant will not bring serious punishment. Noah realizes that Dalem has become arrogant because of his social power. Noah remembers an important rule. Even though members of other noble houses hold status, they are still required to show respect and bow before a true blood prince. With that in mind, Noah asks Dalem why he is still standing while speaking to him. Dalem freezes when he hears this. He realizes Noah is correct. However, Noah points out that it is already too late for him to correct his behavior. Noah signals Shirley and orders Dalem's immediate arrest. Shirley rushes forward and pins Dalem to the ground without hesitation. Noah then tells Dalem that he has tarnished the name of Gilbert's house through his actions. Because of this, he will be punished under imperial law. Dalem is tied to a tree in the market square and ordered to be whipped by Shirley in front of the common citizens. The punishment serves as both justice and a public warning. After Shirley finishes, she reports back to Noah. Noah instructs her to ensure that law enforcement takes custody of Dalem. Then, unexpectedly, Noah asks Shirley to bring him a pair of handcuffs. Noah puts the handcuffs on himself and travels to Prince Gilbert's mansion. When he arrives, he announces that he has come to personally apologize to Gilbert for handling Dalem's case without first consulting him. Gilbert's butler, Coyle, escorts Noah inside. Noah stands before Gilbert and apologizes for acting on his own regarding Dalem's punishment. Gilbert tells him there is no need to worry. Dalem is no longer considered a member of his house anyway, especially since he was banished for bad behavior. After hearing this, Noah removes the handcuffs. Gilbert then praises Noah for publicly protecting the reputation of his house. As Noah leaves the mansion, Shirley asks whether it was really necessary for him to visit Gilbert while wearing handcuffs, especially since Noah acted so calmly during the visit. Noah explains that it was very necessary. Even if Gilbert appeared calm, Noah could tell he was actually angry. However, Gilbert also knew he could not risk starting a conflict with the Emperor's favorite prince. Since Noah came first to apologize, the gesture neutralized the tension instead of allowing it to grow into a larger political conflict. Shirley is surprised by how deeply Noah analyzed the situation and becomes genuinely impressed by his foresight. The next day, Dylan informs Noah that he has another visitor. Noah is surprised that Dylan is the one announcing the guest. Dylan explains that the visitor is from the ministry of the imperial household. Noah goes to meet him. The man introduces himself as Don Orts. He says he is very impressed by how Noah handled the market incident the day before. He then states that he wants to work under Noah. Noah is confused. He does not understand why someone from a different ministry would want to serve under him. Don explains that he simply admires Noah's abilities and does not mind the difference in departmental jurisdiction. Noah remains cautious but eventually agrees, which makes Don very happy. Don thanks him and then leaves. As Don walks away, Noah senses that something about the man feels suspicious. He tells Dylan to investigate Don carefully and to be extremely thorough in the search. It does not take long for Dylan to look into Don Orts. So a little later, while Noah is getting dressed, Dylan arrives and tells him what he has found. Dylan explains that Don, even though he has been hiding it very well, along with his parents, is actually working for his brother Gilbert. Dylan believes Gilbert must have sent Don here as a spy to gather information and pass it back. Noah also sees this possibility, so he tells Dylan not to tell anyone about it. Now that they know Don is a spy, they can use this knowledge to their advantage. Dylan is surprised that Noah was able to suspect suspect Don Orts was a spy from just a first impression, but deep inside, Noah knows it was not pure insight. Right after Don agreed to work for him, Noah noticed that his stats did not increase, and that alone made the truth clear enough. After that, Dylan mentions that someone from Bardsley's store wants to see Noah because the person has found the treasure he was searching for. Noah hears this and guesses that the 10,000 Rian bait he paid must have worked. A short time later, Alan walks into the room and tells Noah that he has found what he was looking for. A large painting covered with a tarp is then brought in. Noah can immediately tell that it is a painting, which confuses him because he had asked for magical items, and this does not look like a normal magic item. The merchant pulls off the covering and reveals an ancient portrait of a green-haired, sleeping girl named Hiwawa. He explains that this is no ordinary painting. Noah walks closer to it, and as he approaches, his Leviathan strongly reacts, helping him realize that the painting is cursed. Alan then brings in a replica of the same painting that was made around the same time the original was created. Using his Leviathan, Noah can easily feel that the original painting gives off a strange aura, even though both paintings look very similar. The Hiwawa painting is a cursed artifact capable of aging as time passes, so Noah already knows what he must do. He pulls out his Leviathan and strikes the cursed painting without hesitation, shocking the merchant. However, the attack does not destroy the painting. Instead, it breaks the curse placed on it, allowing the sleeping girl inside the painting to slowly wake up and step out. Hiwawa completely leaves the painting and stands in front of them. Alan is shaking in fear, while Noah keeps a calm and steady expression. Hiwawa speaks to Noah in an unknown language, explaining that her portrait was painted using her own blood. She says that the painter who created it killed her when she was still a child, and that her blood was mixed into the paint. Alan is left speechless after hearing this. Hiwawa says she wants to repay Noah for freeing her. Noah simply asks her to swear her loyalty to him. Hiwawa agrees to Noah's request. Shortly after that, Noah notices that his earth skill has increased slightly, which confirms that she is loyal and can be useful in the future. Hiwawa is actually capable of many interesting and useful abilities. One of them is shapeshifting, which she demonstrates by turning into Alan and also making her body partially permeable. The merchant is shocked when he sees Hiwawa copy his exact appearance. It is like looking into a mirror. Noah thinks this must be transformation magic. After that, Noah tells Alan that he will pay whatever price the man names and asks him to inform him if he finds anything else that might interest him in the future. Alan agrees. The next day, Byron visits Noah and mentions that Ada has received the Emperor's favor and has been officially recognized as one of the attendants. The statue behind him is something he is presenting to Noah as a gift to show his gratitude. Ada is the girl Byron sent to the palace as a servant following Noah's advice. Noah is surprised that the girl Byron chose has actually risen to the level of attendant. Noah tells Byron that he spent a lot of money on the gift because he can tell that everything there is worth more than 30,000 Rian. Byron is shocked because Noah was able to guess the exact value of the item. Byron says he bought it simply because he was happy that Ada became an attendant. He hopes that one day she can rise to the rank of wife. Consorts are divided into 4 ranks. They are attendants, concubine, wives, and at the very top is the Emperor's legal wife, the Empress. Consorts usually rise in rank based on how much the Emperor favors them and how high their sons rank in the royal family. For example, Noah's mother reached the rank of wife after Noah was given the wise title. There will only ever be one Empress. If Ada wants to rise higher, the rank of wife is usually the highest she can reach. Byron agrees with this and says he hopes he will gain favor from the Emperor as well. Noah explains to him that becoming a wife is not only about gaining the Emperor's favor, it is also a matter of politics. Other consorts can be very cruel and desperate when competing for the Emperor's attention. For example, if someone were to replace Ada's perfume with a fragrance the Emperor despises, this could be the end for her. So Noah advises that Ada should be given a realistic understanding of this situation. Byron says he understands and then leaves. After that, Noah gives Zoe a letter and tells her to send it to her mother along with 10,000 Rian. Zoe is confused because Dylan would be a more suitable messenger to the royal capital. However, Noah explains that men are not allowed to enter the inner palace where his mother stays. Noah explains that this is why he only visits his mother once a year. While Zoe is there, Noah tells her to pass a message to his mother, telling her that he is now considered Ada's guardian. Zoe realizes this means Noah will be using his own mother for political purposes. Noah confirms this and reminds her that in the imperial family, status and profit always come before emotions. Therefore, if Ada rises in the ranks, she could be a great ally to his mother. Zoe is surprised to hear this, but she still agrees to deliver the message exactly as Noah asked. Just before leaving, Noah asks Zoe about how her mother is doing. Zoe says her mother is fine, but something strange happened recently. Part of her mother's job is to open and close the gates at night. Last night, she heard a strange sound while working, so she went to investigate. That was when she noticed someone lurking nearby. She could not see the person clearly, but she is sure someone has been sneaking in and out during the night. Noah finds this information very useful, but he tells Zoe to tell her mother to keep it secret for now. Later that night, when Zoe's mother is preparing to close the gates, Don Orts suddenly appears from behind her and uses a needle to kill her instantly. He leaves her body on the ground and quickly runs away. However, it is then revealed that Noah, Zoe, and Zoe's mother are actually watching from inside a nearby bush. The person lying on the ground is actually Huwawa, who had taken the form of Zoe's mother to test one of Noah's theories. Noah tells her that she was lucky to be alive. He then tells Zoe that she will need to fake her mother's death using this situation. Zoe should take the fake corpse to her hometown, Daso, because it will be the best place to bury her mother. Noah believes it is best for Zoe to leave this area for a while. If Zoe's mother stays here, she will likely be targeted again. Because of this, Noah tells both Zoe and her mother to take some time off. They are very happy to hear this and thank him sincerely. Zoe then asks if it is truly safe to let Don go. Noah replies that it will be fine because Huwawa is watching him closely. The next day, Don wakes up covered in bandages and is surprised to see Noah sitting beside him. Don does not remember how he ended up there, so Noah helps him recall what happened. Noah reminds him that after Don reported killing Zoe's mother, he was stabbed by a middleman and thrown into the river because he failed his mission as a spy. Noah then says he saved him and brought him here. Don is impressed that Noah had predicted everything in advance. He realizes that Noah truly lives up to his title as the wise prince. Noah tells Don that he does not need to throw his life away. He can still swear loyalty and work under him instead. Don is deeply moved that Noah is still giving him another chance. He begins to cry as he thanks Noah. Noah checks his stats and sees that his win stat has increased. This confirms that Don has genuinely sworn loyalty to him. Noah tells Don to focus on recovering first. After that, he will give him a new name and a new identity. Noah plans to make him the adopted son of a fallen noble family and later place him somewhere as a local governor. Don is extremely grateful. To repay Noah even a little, he shares important information. He reveals that his former master, Fist Prince Gilbert, gave the emperor a very interesting gift. This shocks Noah. He immediately goes to the palace and kneels before the emperor. He urgently asks him to stop drinking the wine of Poinix. The emperor recognizes the name. It is the same wine produced in Gilbert's territory and gifted to the royal family. He asks why Noah is against it. Noah explains that the wine itself is fine. With regular consumption, it can even act as a health tonic. However, when combined with a specific food, it turns into a deadly poison. That food is called Dragon's Claw. It is a special dish that both the emperor and the crown Prince Albert eat once a year during a ritual to honor their ancestors. Noah explains that since it has been a year since Gilbert gifted the wine, and the emperor has been drinking it regularly with no issue, no one would suspect it contains poison. When the time comes to eat Dragon's Claw together, the poison would activate. If anyone ever questioned it, it would likely be seen as a tragic accident. The emperor understands what Noah is implying. If he and Albert continue the ritual as usual, they will both die. Noah confirms this. The emperor praises Noah for bringing this to his attention. He orders crews to summon Henry and to send soldiers to Gilbert's mansion to begin an immediate investigation. Noah is told to leave and that his reward will be announced later. That same night, Gilbert is arrested. His crimes are exposed, including illegal experiments where poison was tested on trafficked slaves. His plan to kill the emperor and seize the throne is completely stopped because of Noah's warning. Even so, Noah feels that something is still not right. The emperor always seemed to know everything through his informants. Why did he not know about this plot? Then Noah realizes the truth. The emperor reveals that he knew about the plan all along and had not been drinking the poisoned wine. He once again praises Noah for being able to think so far ahead. Because of this, the emperor appoints Noah as vice minister of military affairs and makes him governor general of the First Army, also known known as the Imperial Guard. The Emperor makes it clear that he will not fall without resistance. Before he is killed one way or another, he wants Noah, as head of the Imperial Guard, to help choose the most suitable successor to inherit the throne. A short while later, Noah and Albert are called before the Emperor. Solid evidence has been uncovered that links Gilbert directly to a plot to kill the Emperor and take his throne. Albert listens to this and shakes his head. He mutters that Gilbert was a fool for letting his greed and impatience get the better of him. The Emperor turns to the two of them and asks what should be done. Noah speaks first. Under imperial law, he explains, the punishment for plotting to kill someone of the Emperor's standing is to be cut in half at the waist. It is considered the highest form of treason, and being a prince does not exempt Gilbert from facing that consequence. However, Noah adds that there is another way to approach it. Gilbert could instead be charged with attempted murder alone. The punishment would still be the same, but under that charge he could be granted a minimum stay of execution, meaning the sentence would only be carried out when the Emperor himself gives the order. Albert does not see the point in all of that. If Gilbert is going to be executed either way, they should simply do it and move on. But that's where the Emperor stops him. He tells Albert that Noah has once again shown real wisdom. Noah thought about the situation from both a legal and a personal angle. He recognized that Gilbert is still the Emperor's son, and that the Emperor might not be able to bring himself to order his own child's death outright. So rather than forcing that moment, Noah offered a path that would keep Gilbert imprisoned for the rest of his life without requiring an immediate execution. The Emperor clearly appreciates that more than he lets on. Even so, Albert pushes one more point. Everyone else who took part in the plot against the Emperor must be put to death without exception. The Emperor agrees and tells Albert that he is putting him in charge of carrying out those executions. Albert thanks him and takes his leave. Alone with Noah, the Emperor tells him that he wants to reward him for the thoughtfulness he showed in considering his feelings. He offers Noah ownership of Gilbert's fief, since Gilbert will not be needing it and someone will need to oversee it. Noah refuses immediately. He reminds the Emperor that he brought Gilbert's plot to him in private confidence. If the other princes see that doing something like that results in land and titles, they will start turning on each other just to earn the same kind of reward. That is not something Noah wants to set in motion. The Emperor nods, he understands, and drops the offer entirely. He then shifts to a different matter. Noah will soon be moving to his own fief, and the time has come to start thinking about a future wife. Noah turns this over in his head. Getting engaged at 12 is not unusual within the royal family. His first and legal wife would be chosen entirely based on political standing, as the role demands someone of the right status and background. A prince has no real say in that decision. The Emperor suggests that Noah marry the granddaughter of the Lightning Prince. Divination has pointed to this match and indicated that the two of them would produce an exceptionally gifted child, possibly even more gifted than Noah himself. Noah takes that in and says honestly that he could think of nothing better than being engaged to someone that remarkable. The Emperor tells him he will begin the marriage negotiations right away. Noah hears this and then walks out calmly. Once he is gone, Noijel steps forward and speaks quietly to the Emperor. He says that Noah never stops surprising him. Most young men his age would at least want to know the name of the person they are going to marry or ask what she looks like. The Emperor then asks Noijel something that has clearly been sitting in the back of his mind. How likely is it that Noah's child, who would also be his own grandchild, could truly grow up to surpass Noah as a ruler? Noijel thinks all they can do right now is simply hope. Later that day, Don is brought before Noah and immediately drops to his knees in a deep bow. He apologizes on behalf of Gilbert, his former master, for the plot to kill the Emperor. He assumes Noah has brought him here to sentence him to death for his connection to it and asks only that it be done quickly. Noah tells him to stop. He never said anything about executing him. He does not simply kill people on a whim. To Noah, people are treasures, and that is not something he takes lightly. He explains that there are a few reasons he called Don here. The first is to let him know that Gilbert has been executed and that everything tied to him has collapsed along with it. Don no longer needs to hide, change his name, or flee the capital. On top of that, Noah tells him that the standard reward for exposing treason is 1,000 rian and that he is adding an extra 0 to that figure out of his own pocket. Don stares at him, completely thrown off. Noah explains simply that Don played a part in saving his father's life. Without him, the Emperor might not be alive right now. That is worth more than a standard reward. Noah then asks Don what he actually wants for himself. life. He could return to the imperial household if he chooses. But Noah wants to hear his answer first. Don tells Noah that he will dedicate the rest of his life to serving him and will follow every instruction without question. Noah is glad to hear it. Afterward, Noah finds Zoe and tells her that her mother is no longer in any danger. Zoe is deeply moved that Noah thought of her mother in the middle of everything else that was happening and thanks him from the heart. The following day, Noah is walking through town when Gigi nudges him and points toward a crowd that has gathered nearby. At the center of it stands a young woman who is issuing an open challenge to anyone willing to fight her. The entrance fee is 3 Rian. If someone beats her, she will become their wife, servant, or whatever they choose. Noah thinks it over. Slave trading is defined as the buying and selling of another person. Since she is offering herself willingly, it technically falls inside the law. One man steps up to take her on. She puts him flat on the ground in seconds, and he walks away looking completely humiliated. Several more challengers try their luck one after another. She handles every single one of them without any visible effort. When she calls for the next challenger, the crowd goes quiet. Nobody wants to be next. Then a confident blonde man pushes forward and announces loudly that he does not even need to pay the entrance fee because winning is a certainty for him. He charges at her. Just before she can move out of the way, something changes. Her body weakens suddenly and her movements slow. He drives a heavy blow straight into her stomach and she goes down. Before the man can celebrate, Noah steps forward and calls him out directly. He tells the crowd that the man cheated. He used some kind of numbing drug and had someone else shoot her in the leg from a distance without anyone noticing. The man spins around and turns his attention toward Noah immediately, denying everything with clear aggression. Noah does not argue back. He simply raises his Leviathan and uses it to drop the shooter to the ground right there in front of everyone. The crowd recognizes the man instantly. He is a known henchman of the blonde man, a person named Rob. The blonde man drops the girl and turns toward Noah, making it very clear he is looking for a fight. Noah stays calm. He raises the Leviathan and lands 2 precise strikes on the man in quick succession. A moment later, he scrambles to his feet and takes off running, one hand holding his pants up as he disappears into the crowd. The girl opens her eyes to find Noah sitting close by, watching over her. He asks her if she remembers what happened. She starts to recall how she was squaring up against that last man when suddenly her legs stopped working completely. Noah fills in the rest. The man had someone attack her from behind while she was distracted. With that cleared up, Noah wants to know why she was out there issuing that challenge in the first place. The girl says she ran out of money and had no other way to get by. She had come to the capital to sit the night selection exam but did not make it through. Noah saw what she could do out there and it does not add up. There is no way someone with her ability should have been turned away. She tells him she thought the same thing, which is why she went to appeal the decision. She was brought before the 10th prince overseeing the selection, and he offered her a place among the knights on one condition. Because she was a girl, she would have to do things she was not willing to do. She refused without hesitation. She wanted to earn her place on her own terms. With no money and no path forward, she had been trying to find a way to get herself back home. Noah asks her directly whether she still wants to become a knight. She says yes without any hesitation. He reaches into his pocket and holds out a pouch containing 100 Rian, more than enough to keep her going until the next selection exam comes around. She cannot understand why a stranger would do something like this for her. Noah tells her simply that he respects people who hold themselves to a higher standard. Before she can respond, Chad, the guy Noah humiliated earlier, comes storming in with a group of his people behind him, clearly looking for revenge after what happened earlier. The girl moves to step in, but Noah tells her to stay back. The flame ring the Emperor gifted him begins to react. Noah combines its power with his protection ring, and a pair of flaming fist gloves take shape around his hands. He moves through Chad and his entire group with calm efficiency, putting every single one of them on the ground in no time at all. When it is over, Noah notices that one of the 10th prince's knights was present the whole time and did nothing to stop any of it. The knight looks up, realizes he is standing in front of the 13th prince, and immediately drops into a deep bow. He apologizes for allowing the situation to unfold the way it did. Noah already knows exactly what was going on. He lets the knight off with a warning this one time and leaves it to him to decide what punishment Chad and his group deserve. The girl has been listening to all of it. The pieces fall into place all at once. Noah is the 13th prince, the wise prince that everyone talks about. Suddenly, everything that has happened since she woke up makes perfect sense. What strikes her most is the fact that someone with that much power and standing chose to walk through a crowd without announcing who he was, stepped in for a stranger, and handled everything without once making it about himself. As they walk away, a man sitting quietly on a nearby bench begins to clap slowly. He tells Noah that it is rare to come across a young man as impressive as him. Noah is not sure who he is looking at first. Then his eyes land on the golden gourd resting beside the man. This is Indra Ararat, the Lightning Prince. Noah steps forward and bows. Indra is a figure of enormous history. Several decades ago, when the previous emperor was still young and newly crowned, the empire was in a fragile and unstable state. Indra stepped in as Prince Regent and held everything together on his own. 5 years later, once the young emperor had found his footing, Indra quietly stepped down from that role without any complaint or resistance. It was that graceful exit that earned him the title of Lightning, a symbol of the new era he helped usher in. Knowing all of this, Noah cannot help but wonder why a man of that stature is sitting on a bench in the middle of town right now. Indra sees that Noah has figured out who he is and assumes the emperor must have already spoken to him. He is here to evaluate Noah. The emperor chose Noah and trusts him completely, so Indra has no real reason to question that judgment. But his granddaughter's life is tied to this arrangement, and that changes things. This is not purely political for him. It is personal. Noah asks what happens if he does not measure up. Indra answers without hesitation. In that case, he simply would not allow the marriage to go forward. Noah points out that refusing a direct royal command would count as an act of disobedience. Indra does not disagree. Any other order from the emperor, and he would follow it without question. But this concerns his granddaughter. That line sits apart from everything else. Noah listens carefully and understands. Indra is not here chasing power or political advantage from this engagement. He genuinely cares about who his granddaughter ends up with. Noah asks whether he has already passed the test. Indra tells him they are about to find out right now. A heavy force suddenly presses down on Noah from above, the same kind of crushing weight he has felt his Leviathan produce in others. This is Indra's test. Noah thinks it through quickly. He could use his Leviathan to overpower Indra without much difficulty. But Indra is a man of enormous standing, and bringing him to his knees in a public street would damage his reputation in a way that cannot be undone. Noah makes a quiet decision. He will bring this to a draw. The contest ends exactly that way. Indra looks at Noah afterward with clear appreciation. He can tell that Noah made the draw happen on purpose. Noah can tell just as clearly that Indra let it show intentionally. Indra tells Noah to take good care of his granddaughter, and Noah agrees. To mark the occasion, Indra offers to buy everyone drinks. Before they head off, he tosses Noah a ring as a personal gift. Noah turns it over in his hand, assuming it is a decorative piece. Then a deep and heavy voice rumbles from somewhere and tells him to prove his strength. The world around him disappears. He is standing in an open field. A magic bull comes thundering toward him at full speed. Noah raises his Leviathan and meets the charge head-on, bringing the creature down in a single strike. Once it is still, Noah checks his stats and finds that his light skill has climbed to C+. Then the bull speaks. It tells him it has surrendered and now belongs to him. The field dissolves and Noah is back in the real world. Indra explains what just happened. The creature Noah faced is known as the Behemoth, and its power grows to match whoever it is bound to. Noah slides the ring onto his finger and picks up a nearby kettle almost without thinking. Indra's eyes go wide. The kettle turns gold in Noah's hand and begins pouring out a shining golden liquid. Indra is visibly shaken. Even at the height of his own power, he was never able to tame the Behemoth. Noah did it almost immediately. Noah then brings out a small version of the Behemoth's form and explains his plan to Indra. He is going to have it fight against his other magic items so it can absorb skills and grow stronger through battle. He summons the Leviathan, Huwawa, and Luthier and lines them up. What happens next catches everyone off guard. It has apparently been 1,000 years since all 4 of these magic items were gathered together in the same place. The moment they are all present at once, a warm and brilliant golden light begins to pour out from all of them at the same time. Noah stares at it, completely unaware of what's going on. That was episode 10. Subscribe to not miss the next part and watch the next video on screen.